أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا شفينا حبيبنا مرشدنا محمد نبي الأمي وعلى أهله وصحبه أهل بيته وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا شفينا حبيبنا مرشدنا محمد نبي الأمي وعلى أهله وصحبه أهل بيته وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا شفينا حبيبنا مرشدنا محمد نبي الأمي وعلى أهله وصحبه البيت وبارك وسلم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نادي علي مظهر يجايب تجده أو أن لك في النوائب كل هم وغم سينجلي بأزمتك يا الله بنبوتك يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بولايتك يا علي يا علي يا علي أدركني في سبيل الله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وأجل فرجهم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إلهي بحق فاطمة كور كلماني إلهي بحق فاطمة كور كلماني إلهي بحق فاطمة كور كلماني بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا سيدي يا مولاي يا حسين يا سيدي يا مولاي يا حسين يا سيدي يا مولاي يا حسين Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, brothers and sisters. Today we're going to cover a topic which is regarding deep analysis of the Shahada Kalima, which is our second Kalima from a Sufi perspective. We have covered the Kalima Tayyiba, which is excluding the Ashhadu. The Kalima Tayyiba is exactly the same. This entire presentation, brothers and sisters, we are going to concentrate on the I, who is doing the witnessing. The problem is that uh, the I has got the secret of this kalima. This kalima we say is the kalima of hope and tranquility, because this is the kalima which is going to help us on the day of Yawmul Qiyamah. But unless we go into the I, who is doing the witness, and dive deep into the I, not just superficially, we will not be able to understand what this kalima means, inshallah. So let's keep going to the next slide. Again, brothers and sisters, this is a disclaimer I put in for every of the presentation. A lot of knowledge which is shared here, ilm which is shared here, is coming from tariqat, haqiqat and marfat level. Most of it is coming from the ilm of kutubiyat, from what Hazrat Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu has taught, and other mashayikh also, like Maulana Rumi, Hazrat Sultan Bahu. All of them are the highest level of spiritual masters who Qausul Azam Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilan radiallahu anhu, the highest level spiritual masters who blessed this ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, the ilm that is shared here definitely won't be available at the Shariat level. And again, the disclaimer, if you heard other presentations on the internet from this YouTube channel of ours, the intent here is never to point fingers on anybody. I'm a seeker. I don't say that I'm a great guy, no way. I'm a seeker like you. It's just that we are sharing information. And if it benefits, Alhamdulillah, please make dua for me. Again, if any mistakes in this presentations, it is coming from my own self. I'm also, as I said, I'm a learner from the cradle to the grave, inshallah. Okay. So let's keep going. This is a long presentation, brothers and sisters. So what I would say, and it's a lot of topics will be covered in depth here. We're going to go to the depth of the I, who is the I who is going to witness the Shahada. Okay, and because the whole crux of the spirituality lies on the I, which people normally overlook it very easily. But we're going to get into the depth of it, inshallah. So, I was thinking of breaking up this presentation into different parts, but then I thought, just put it in there. Maybe it takes 2 or 3 hours. I don't know how long it's going to take, but let's just go through is in sections, inshallah. Okay. And from my perspective, when I'm making the slides and making the recording also, it becomes easy for me because then there is a flow there. If I try to break it up, I got so many times requests to try and break it up into 30 minutes presentations, and it's very difficult, trying to keep the flow going. So, forgive me for that, brothers and sisters, and inshallah, hope that this benefits every one of us, including me, inshallah. So let's go straight into the Shahada Kalima. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallahu wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Now, the Kalima itself, we have covered, as we said, the Kalima Tayyiba, which is La ilaha illallahu Muhammad Mustafa Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have covered that in our previous uh, presentation, which is already there on the YouTube channel. And a lot of brothers gave good feedback about that, brothers and sisters. Um, if you really look at the first kalima and the second kalima, the difference is just the ashhadu part of it. Everything else is nearly the same. Um, so then why has Allah, segregated, separated the two kalimas? The kalima tayyiba is for purification and shahadat is different. So there is something more deeper, brothers and sisters, that why Allah made the shahada kalima as separate from the kalima tayyiba. And if you really analyze it, if you compare the kalma tayyiba and shahada kalima, one will notice that the biggest difference is ashhadu. So, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said it, and this is the crux of the Sufi path: is man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. That is, whoever knows his own self, he knows Allah. He is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is our messenger, our beloved messenger, who God gave us the Quran, who gave us the Hadith. He never said that, whoever knows Quran and Hadith knows Allah. He never said that. He said, Man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. A person who knows his own self. And here, when you say ashadu, that's also the self which is being pointed to. And inshallah, brothers and sisters, I hope that, I'm doing justice to this presentation. I have, few close friends of mine, who are Ali Medin and, and some are mashayikh also, and they said that the shahada kalima is the shahada presentation, you need to be very careful, people don't record it normally because it can become controversial. And I was, but what I did is that I worked with them and got all the feedbacks that they had to tell me, and then I said, let me just put it on there because mistakes, small mistakes here and there do happen, but if the benefit is much larger than small mistakes, then I think we should go ahead and share it. So that's the intent, brothers and sisters. So again, let's keep going. Again, the whole presentation is not about La ilaha illallah Muhammad Mustafa Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's already covered in Kalma Tayyiba. This is going to concentrate on Ashadu only. Okay. We'll, this is a slide which is very basic. This is again, we're just trying to level set here. Basic understanding of Shahada Kalima at the Shariat level, which is testimony to the world and to myself, that a conviction that this is the path I have chosen, that I'm a Muslim by faith. I will abide by the laws and prescribed by the religion, do's and don't do's, following the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his way of life. MashaAllah, perfect. There's no problem. It is complete. But then, because we are going into a deeper level, we are going to question ourselves. I'm questioning myself here, brothers and sisters. Here, there is no distinction between when I say from my mind, from my heart, and my soul in the Ashadu. Now, when I say Ashadu, I'm putting the lowercase I here. So, brothers and sisters, throughout the entire presentation, when I refer to the lowercase I, that is the ego-oriented I, which I think is the body who is doing the recording right now, that kind of thing. And the uppercase I is going to be the pure consciousness, which is connected to the Nur of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we're going to cover that in future slides, but just level set here. So the question I'm asking myself is, did I see the kalima? Because at the level of ihsan, I have to see Allah and worship Him. That is what Hadith Jibril, where Jibril Wasallam, asked Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam the few questions, and we're going to cover that in the future slides in the same presentation. But the question is that did I see the kalima and recite it, or I just heard it? Maybe my parents were Muslims, so I inherited it. So I take it for granted. Ashadu, take it for granted. But if I'm say coming from a different faith and say I go to the imam of the masjid and on a Juma, mashallah, and I recite the kalima, and all the brothers and sisters in the gathering of the Juma, mashallah, they witness you, right? But here we are talking about a different kind of witness. The question I'm asking is the court system of the world. When they say the word witness, it means I saw the incident. For example, I'm standing at a junction, where four roads meet, and I saw an accident. A guy on a bike was hit by a car, and the car took off, and I'm the lone witness. So when the cops come and I volunteer myself and say, yeah, I did see this young boy, he was driving carefully, and this guy was speeding, and he came and hit it. And then I have to go to the court and stand in the witness box and say, yes, I saw that incident. That's how the court system works. Today's we have cameras, CCTVs, and all that. That's also a witness because you're seeing it. So the question we are asking ourselves here is, did I really witness the Shahada Kalima and I say Ashadu, or I'm just saying because I listened and heard it? So when I say that I just heard and listened, I'm asking myself the question is that am I missing anything, any internal dimension which should have been realized or not? And that is what we are talking about in this presentation. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Alhamdulillah, when he was in human form, and this is Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat the Qutub also talked about that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself is the kalima. I'm not saying, brothers and sisters, was the kalima. I'm saying he is the kalima. Okay, we believe in Hazir and Nazir. Okay, and we'll go through that. Sahabas always saw a noor around Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And we have covered that in detail in other presentations like the Miraj one, Noor Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and you can go through that. So the Sahabas always saw Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they saw his noor, they saw his reality, and then they recited the kalima. So their iman was at a much, much higher level. That's the reason in Surah Bayina, Allah Ta'ala says, وَرَضِيَ اللَّهُ وَرَادُوًا ذَلِكَ مَنْ خَشِيَ رَبَّ. That Allah is pleased with them and they're pleased with Allah. And so that is the highest level of iman. We can never get to the level of the Sahabas. But in the Sufi perspective, we try as much as possible to get close to the iman, not of the Sahabas, but because we are blessed with the kutubs of this ummah who come and reveal this ilm. Because as we said before, Maula Hassan and Hussein were shaheed at a very young age. Maula Hassan was shaheed at 45, Maula Hussein at 56. A lot of hidden ilm. Can you imagine the grandfather is the Rahmatul Alameen? The amount of ilm that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam must have poured from heart to heart. Maula Ali must have poured from heart to heart. Fatima to Zahra must have poured from heart to heart into the heart of Maula Hassan and Hussein. Because their lives were truncated, as according to the will of Allah, the silsila of the kutubs of the ummah came. Ghausl Azam Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu anhu, and culminating in 11 kutubs after that. And Hazrat Baba Muhyiddin is the 11th form of the kutub. And this ilm which is given is reviving because, Islam came 1400 years before and we have the hadith and Quran, but unless you have the wisdom which comes from Maula Ali, Man ana madinatul ilm wa Ali babuha. I am the city of ilm, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, and Ali is the gate, is the door. From Maula Ali came all the kutubs, the wilayats of this ummah. So this ilm that is being shared here is also coming from their brothers and sisters. Okay, so let's keep going to the next one. We're going to quickly distinguish here experience versus reasoning. Okay. One we say experience, we say direct, and reasoning we say indirect. Let's look at reasoning first. Okay. Reasoning, we're all studying in colleges, universities, you're doing jobs, we study on a day-to-day basis. So some phenomena or theory, whether spiritual or material, doesn't matter, which we have read, learned, studied, and understood. And then using our mind or the heart, we have a judgment and we have concluded. Once we have done that, we store it into the memory, which can be recalled whenever we need. And this is for self-preservation, self-comfort, and protecting one's personality. And hence based on fear and always in conflict with the inner and outer world, not at peace with oneself. Brothers and sisters, why do I say this, statement? I'm not trying to lead anybody to into a corner here. The reason is that the moment, the problem with every one of us, right? Even I have gone through that myself in my spiritual journey, and I have come to a point where the last thing I do is judge, try not to judge and conclude. Because the moment you judge and conclude, you have closed all the avenues for future perspective at looking at a topic from a different angle. Because I already judged and concluded and put it to rest. So that is what I'm saying, that once it's stored in memory, then if somebody comes and contradicts me, then right away I say, no, 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 this is not how it is. I have not left the option of saying maybe somebody else has got a better perspective, and maybe I can take my understanding to a different level. That particular door is closed the moment I judge and conclude. Okay. And unfortunately, reasoning, when you reason something with our mind, okay, this is the limitation of the mind. This is nothing to do with a personality issue, brothers and sisters. The mind has its own limitation. I'm sitting in a room right now and recording this presentation. I don't even know what is happening, behind the door, which is locked right now, because that is the limitation. Because of five senses, the eyes cannot see through this, you know, through a door or through the wall. I don't have X-ray vision. So whatever the senses is limited to, that's what the mind is limited to also. Okay. But if there is an animal like a bat, who can see, in the night and kind of thing, they can see much different perspective of the same scenario, same world, same room that I'm sitting in right now. Okay. So that's what we are saying, that reasoning always has got its own limitation. Let's now look at experience, brothers and sisters. Experience. This path of ilm of kutubiyat, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, is the path of experience. If you dive deep into this thing, not superficially, brothers and sisters, even in the world, if you have to, excel in any field of science or math or any field or technology, you have to invest your time. If you do half-hearted attempt, you'll stay half-hearted. You'll not get the complete picture of it. This ilm of kutubiyat, alhamdulillah, from personal experience, brothers and sisters, is very deeply satisfying, because experiences, spiritual experiences, karamat, happen in your life. Ilham, which is, you could call sixth sense, coming from Allah, from this unseen world, from ilm, from, you could say, ilm ghaib to a certain extent, or you could say, knowledge which is coming from the ilm, from the batin, from the hidden world. The miraj itself, when you start praying, and we covered this in detail in the topic of miraj, Isra wal Miraj. So at that point, you're learning, you are still, you're still listening to this presentation, you're listening to somebody, right? But then it will be accompanied with experience if you go through this. Qutb Bahamuddin Hazrat has given us those experiences of how to not generate those experiences, but how to experience a spiritual dimension. He has given it. So in that path, when you get connected to the spiritual enlightened souls, who, as is put in the slide, for them, having the number of murids, I have 20 murids, 30 murids, 100 murids, or 1,000 murids, they don't care. They will be sitting alone in a jungle, and they'll be doing the contemplation. Accumulation of wealth, material wealth or spiritual wealth, or recognition, is the last thing they want. For them, as we say in the slide, that it doesn't matter. It's not even worth an atom's worth of importance. For them, the command of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu, that becomes the cornerstone, the goal, and the guiding light. Defines their purpose of life on earth. Baumadin Hazrat, he said that he came, mashallah, and he did so much of work in America in a short time of approximately 15 years. He said, if only one child of mine, he never called disciples because he's a kutub. We can never be a disciple of a kutub. We're not even capable of being close to that. So he was always called as children, because as children, we will falter, we'll make mistakes, we run to our parents, they forgive us, they hug us, same thing happens. So he said, they're all my children. Kutub said, when you go to tariqat, you have sheikh and murid and all that. Here, no. Here it's the kutub and the children, mashallah. Because we can never be a disciple of a kutub. We're not capable of that. We'll make mistakes, and the next day, next moment will be thrown out. So it's better to stay as a children, so even the egos will be under check, basically. So the point is that Baba said that even if one of my child gets to a higher level of understanding, he said, I will consider my mission accomplished. Just think about it, brothers and sisters. So the hidden fakirs of this ummah, they are the greatest teachers. Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat, his title that was given by Maula Ali is Ya Fakir Muhyiddin Mujahidatullah Ilumail. So he's a Ya Fakir. He came as a fakir. His life was a fakiri. We will talk about that in detail, brothers and sisters. I want to quickly go through this, how being in the company of these teachers, whether they are there in human form right now or they have left the form. If you, brothers and sisters, you elevate your spiritual state to a higher state, then the kutub is there to help you. You don't really need all the time. You definitely need sometimes to have a sheikh in a form, in blood and form, flesh and bones, but not all the time. A lot of ilm will be given to you when you are sleeping, when you are in meditation, so. And Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat talked about it. He said when he was passing away in 1986, he said, after me, you will never get a sheikh who is insan kamil till the Mahdi, Imam Mahdi comes. Because the next one, awaited one, the 12th Kutub is Imam Mahdi, inshallah. So again, the point is that when you get into the company of the great teachers, your life transforms. Khwaja Garib Nawaz, Khwaja Muhyiddin Chisti Ajmeri Sanjari Behaq Ya Usman Harani radiallahu anhu, whose tomb is in Ajmer. He's called Sultan Awliya al-Hind. He was born in 1143 and he passed away in 1236. It's a lot to talk about him, but I'm going to be very concise here because we have to cover a lot of information in the presentation. So he basically said that he when he was a child, again all these spiritual masters, starting from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whether it is Gausul Azam Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu anhu, they lose their parents right away in young age. And this is the hikmat of Allah, the Rahman, Rabbul Alameen. He makes them go through a lot of personal suffering at a very young age. So similarly, Khwajaji lost both his parents at a very young age, but he was a very hardworking young boy. He had a farm that an orchard, where grapes were grown, where and he used to work very hard from morning to evening, taking care of this orchard. One day, doing his routine, he's taking care of the orchard, he's watering it, and working on it. He saw this great sheikh, he's Hazrat Ibrahim Khundusi. And he came by, he sat, and this is the the qadar of Allah. He sat in the corner of the orchard and he had such a glowing face. Khwajaji saw him and he immediately went and plucked the best of the grapes from his orchard and cleaned it, put it on a table with a lot of adab, went and gave it to the Hazrat. Hazrat was so pleased the way Khwajaji, with so much of love and adab. Very important, brothers, in this path. Adab is extremely important. Then you get the wisdom. There is no scope for ego here in this path, brothers and sisters. And I'm saying that to myself here, okay, who is doing this great recording, you know, again. So Hazrat Ibrahim Kundusi is, pleased with the boy, and he starts eating the grapes. Meanwhile, Khwajaji as a boy, he's sitting right next to him. He takes a piece of sweet from his bag. He had a old rugged bag. Took a piece of sweet. He chews it a little bit and he puts in the mouth of Khwajaji. Brothers and sisters, that was it. And then he passed away. He just moved on. He went on in his journey to another place. Within few days, Khwajaji, after Hazrat Ibrahim Kundusi left, he sold the orchard and he migrated. And Khwajaji was in Iran, present day Iran. He migrated to Samarkand and then to Bukhara. In Samarkand, he went and enrolled himself in a madrasa. He first became a Hafiz Quran, then he became an Alim Adin, and then he finally got in touch with his Sheikh, got connected to his Sheikh Hazrat Khwaja Usman Harni radiallahu anhu. So my point here is that one incident, that here is this young boy who has lost his parents, working hard for a living, having a definitely you've lost your parents, but he has got enough money to sustain himself. He's got a huge orchard he has inherited. As long as he can take care of it, he can sustain. He get married, have children, and have a good life, right? No, but something happened there, and he was taken into a different, and then finally he becomes the Sultani Awliya al Hind. And it's you should all try sometimes when you have time to go and read about Khwaja Garib Nawaz, inshallah. Now, in my life, in my own small, what do you call, um, how do I say that? The dust at the feet of the kutubs, I'm not even worth the dust which touches the feet of the kutubs when they walk on the earth. But in my life, I just wanted to relate this incident. I saw, Hazrat Maksud Shah Baba, and this was in 2017. I had a dream before I went to India, and I saw this Baba at Haji Malang Dargah, at the footsteps. Haji Malang Dargah is on the top of a huge mountain. It's a 3-hour climb, and he lived in a very small and hut, with his wife, mashallah, and his daughter. And they're from the pure Sayyid family, from Wala Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anhu's family, Hazrat Sayyid Maksud Shah Baba. You know, uh, Allah's blessing that I got in touch. Allah gave me the opportunity to meet with them and sit at their feet and learn. What is true knowledge. There is much more than what is in printed literature on, or whether just going through scriptures, because again interpretation of scriptures is limited to the author or the tafsir that you're reading. It's much more than that, and that's the reason I'm saying that we put this presentation together. Brothers and sisters, this word ashadu is too deep, and we need to go through that and analyze it. Okay, the point I'm saying here in this slide is, so that I can move to the next one, is I asked this silly question because I was always, I always had a lot of burden on my heart, saying why are these Muslims fighting Shia, Sunni, Hanafi, Hanbali, and Shafi, and all those, and I always used to think that is there something more than these fiqh issues, or small mundane issues, that I'm going to Jannah, I am part of the 72 sects, 73 sects, and Tabligh Jamaat, or Barelvi. And I always used to have this in my heart, that what is the true path here. What is that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam definitely said that the ummah is going to be split into 73 sects, and 72 will go to Jahannam, and one will be in the right path. So only because Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that one will be on the right path, my and I became more inquisitive, trying to figure out what is the criteria of this 73rd sect. Till I reached the Kutub, I had no clue. But the point is that Maksud Shah Baba himself, he was the Kutub of that area, and he was under the Kutub at a high. There are Kutub Irshad, there are Kutub Gaus, there are different levels of Kutubs. So Maksud Shah Baba, I asked Baba, in Urdu, he used to talk Urdu language. He said, Baba, can you tell me the difference between Shia and Sunni? And in a beautiful way, very beautiful way, mashallah, these are great teachers. He did not start telling me about, the Khilafat and all those kind. He didn't say anything. He said, beta, the Shia brothers are minority, Sunnis are at a majority. So definitely, the Sunnis have got the more higher ego. That's what he meant, not trying to point anything to anybody, brothers and sisters. Okay, so but he immediately turned the topic around on me, and he said, beta, you are also a Sunni, okay? And he said, beta, Sunni kalma sun ke iman laye, dekh kar iman kisne laya? He said, you're a Sunni, but beta, you know what? Sunna in Urdu means uh, uh, to hear, to hear is Sunnah. So beta, Sunni kalma sun ke iman laye, that the Sunnis recited the kalma after hearing it. And then he's questioning me, dekkar iman kisne laya? Kalima dekkar. That means who witnessed the kalima with their eyes, spiritual eyes, and recited. So right there, these great teachers, they have their own way of trying to tell me in a very subtle way that what you're focusing on Shia Sunni, leave it aside. You have much bigger things to concentrate on. Okay. And that's the point, brothers and sisters here. So, Alhamdulillah, Baba passed away, last 2 years back, but I had the grace of, from the Baba's family that, they accommodated me. I learned from here for 1 year, whole year, mashallah. So again, a Fatiha for Maqsood Shah Baba, A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, Ihdinas Sirat al-Mustaqim, Sirat alladhina an'amta alayhim, Ghayril Maghdubi alayhim, Waladdallin. Amin. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So let's go to the next slide. We're going to jump straight into what Qutb Muhyiddin Hazrat talked about. Okay, this is again, brothers and sisters, this is pertaining to Shahada. Okay, he said this journey, and Qutb Muhyiddin Hazrat, he came the time, once we all know that how the Ottoman Khilafat was destroyed, and then the Wahhabi, so-called Wahhabi, Islam spread. We all know that, how the tombs of Ahlul Bayt, and they were all destroyed, Jannatul Baqi, you know, and the amount of negative propaganda, to the point now today Muslims are looked at as terrorists in Auzubillah. We are the most peace loving and the most spiritual people and the most kind people we should be, because we are the ummat of the Rahmatul lil Alamin, and we are looked in opposite direction. And I faced it so many times in my personal life, but that is nothing to do with the people who are trying to target you. I think it's because I myself, I have to first become a true Muslim, because when I start practicing that, then the rahmat of Allah will definitely come. This is my huzur, where a Jewish woman used to throw garbage on his blessed head every day in the morning when he used to go out in the streets of Makkah, and then this same woman accepts Islam after a few days. So I am the follower of that Nabi, who has got the highest ikhlaq, right? He's Khatam al Nabi. So, I cannot give up, brothers and sisters, looking at the world around, inshallah. So, again, let's dive deep into this thing. Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat talked about 5 oceans, brothers and sisters, that we have to cover. Okay, this is the 5 oceans, and Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat talked about in detail about this, but I'm just putting this as one slide. He has a complete book on that. Okay, The Mystical Journey, the book's name is. If you can Google it, get it on the internet, Mystical Journey. I just took one chapter, part of a small part of a chapter, just pertaining to the Shahada Kalima. He said the first ocean of silver that you have to cross is this. The color of the ocean is silver, but it is not really silver. If you look deeper, it is the blood which is turned into white, and the white color then turned into silver color. And Baba Hazrat said, this is the ocean of Maya. Human being tries to jump into this ocean at the tender age of 14 or 15. That is when puberty kicks in and the hormone starts going haywire, and you know how it is, right? Parents of grown-up children know that. Sexual arts and games, these comes, they get conscious about that, and this is the energy of this ocean. Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat said that one has to overcome this particular, pass through this ocean and go to the next one. What is the next one? Again, the second ocean is red in color, and he talks about blood ties, kith and kin. all the relatives, the extended relations, they have their own agendas, right? And their own way of life. But in this path, if you have to go through it, Bahamuddin Hazrat said, at every point when you're crossing one ocean to another ocean, you have to leave your body consciousness behind and then go to the next one. Otherwise, the body consciousness is going to trap you there. And we're going to cover that in deep detail in this particular presentation, brothers and sisters. But just let's cover this thing at a basic level here. The ocean of red is again connected to the blood ties. They can create obstacles in this path for progress. Okay, so that's something that we have to be mindful of. Third ocean is, he said, it's black in color. He said total darkness, pitch darkness. That's where the mind is. A mind without wisdom is total darkness. One's desires is dark, one's wisdom is dark, everything in life is dark. Need guidance from the Noor, and Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Not just Hadith and Quran, you need the wisdom of the Kutubs who can decipher this ilm. Just having Hadith and Quran in printed form, Siyasita, Bukhari Sharif, no, my sisters. There is a way of life, there is zikrs to be done, there is a disciplined life you have to follow, and then things starts opening up. Okay, so but if somebody doesn't get into that, total darkness. By default, it is darkness, right? Wal asar innal insana lafi kusar. Verily, mankind is in a state of loss, Allah Ta'ala says. Can you imagine that you're going to start a business and somebody says, oh, you're going to lose all the money and become bankrupt? So that is how scary Walasar Surah is. Walasar innal insana lafi kusar. Verily, mankind is in a state of loss, except, and then the Surah goes on. Right? So I'm not going to go into the depth of that. Again, go to the next topic, the blue ocean. The next is blue ocean. Now, what the Kutub says that if one does not get the wisdom to cross the black ocean, automatically the next ocean, the blue ocean, is connected to the black ocean. And in the blue ocean, you have poisonous beings. This could be jinns and fairies, and all kind of negative energies are there. They're going to attack you. From the Kutub's perspective, the Kutub, he goes much deeper. He said the bile in the liver, the physical liver has got bile. From that emerges the bad qualities of arrogance, anger, hastiness within a human being. And he said the shaitan is in the bile, he said. And that is Kutub's wisdom, where he has analyzed it to perfection. Okay, this you will not find at the Shariat level, no way. Okay, these beings here in the blue ocean will destroy the qualities compassion, mercy, unity, peace, justice, and charity to all lives. Basically, a person who does not, conquer or cross the black ocean and then the blue ocean, he will be a tool of shaitan. That's what the Kutub says. Finally, if one crosses that also, think about it, brothers. The first one is related to sexual energy used in the wrong way. Second was related to blood ties, the drama of relationships. The third is related to the mind with desires and attachments and all that. The fourth is related to the unseen world of jinns and all this. We all know the shaitaniyat which is there. If you survive through that, the fifth one will still catch you. And what is that? The ocean of material possessions. Today we are living in a time where success is defined by how much do you make. Not and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said in the eyes of Allah, the person who is most taqwa, who has got the most fear of Allah, who fears Allah, who knows Allah. Otherwise the person is not mindful. That is the criteria in the eyes of Allah. And today every profession is chosen. Parents say you have to become a businessman, a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. Why? Make money. But I don't say negative about it. I myself am an engineer. But the point is that we have changed the criteria of evaluation. Have a good profession, become the best doctor, best engineer, make money, do charity, do good. There's no problem. But then I'm talking about the tuning, basically, how the young minds are being tuned, unfortunately. Okay, and this is the ocean of gold. So the Kutub says, after leaving your body consciousness behind, we need to escape from each ocean to proceed to the further. And once you cross these oceans, then you connect to the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And that's where the Shahada comes into becomes the witness. You become the witness of the Noor. and the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Noorun ala Noor. We covered that in detail in brothers in the Miraj presentation. Please go and listen to that. That's where the kalma completes, and we're going to go through that, in the few slides. Again, hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, if you have to learn ilm, go to China. Brothers and sisters, going to China at that time was as if it's a one-way trip. You'll never come back, because it took time, right? So the point is that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that if you have to go to China to learn ilm, what is the ilm? This is regarding the spiritual inquiry. This is man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu ilm, brothers and sisters. That's Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said. You have to go to China, go, he said. Well, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam could have said, well, I have given you the Quran and the Hadith. You are complete. Just stay in Medina. No. There's still a lot of contemplation. The world teaches you a lot of things. There are still, enlightened masters, hidden masters sitting in different places who will decipher, who will make it easy for you what you have learned. Sometimes maybe I have to discard a lot of things which I've learned because that's become a burden for me. So that's the reason it said go to China if you have to learn ilm. So for a true seeker, brothers and sisters, separating the I, the small I from the big I is the real journey. We'll talk about that. What is the small? The small I, as I said before, is the egocentric I, which the body consciousness, with the body consciousness thinking that I, this body, who's doing the recording right now, that is the me. And the uppercase I is the pure consciousness, which is awareness, pure consciousness connected to the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. For a normal human being, brothers and sisters, it's very difficult to separate this lowercase I with the uppercase I, the egocentric I with the pure consciousness. And this entire presentation is on that, because ashadu can happen with the lowercase I and ashadu can happen with the uppercase I. And we will talk about the pros and cons of both of them. Okay. Again, I came into this world alone. We'll go back to Allah alone. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun. Right. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam already described the day of judgment. Right. Ya Rabbi nafsi nafsi. Everybody will be running on that day. Nobody wants to share even a smallest sin. The son can go to the mother and say, mother, I have done a small sin on that particular day. Can you just take it on your head? No, you're separate, I'm separate. That's already said. So all this relationship drama, my son, this son, definitely we have duties to do. But the point is that we have to invest time into discovering our own self. We're not doing that nowadays. We're too much tied into materialism. Previously, 50 years, 100 years before, people lived much simpler lives. We have complicated our lives more with gadgets and we have put, we have literally redefined success, so that, we spend the best years of our life, trying to go after these material things. It's not that don't do it. You have to do it. You need to have a family. You need to have a house. But then spend some time, keep some time separate to go deeper into yourself. You're not asking that quit your jobs. No, I don't do that myself. I also make money for a living, definitely, right? Again, so let's look at this beautiful picture which is here. Here there's a fish in a ball here, and that is religion. I'm a Hindu, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm a Jew, I'm a Sikh, I'm a Buddhist, I'm an atheist. The small I, egocentric I. Because you know what? I am right. What does the egocentric I say? I'm a true Muslim, I'm going to heaven. The Christian will say, I'm a true Christian, I'm going to heaven because I believe in Jesus. Okay. Whatever the Jew says, I'm the chosen person. One Jew, just to let you know, went to Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat the Qutub and said, are there chosen people? And mashallah, mashallah, mashallah. The Qutub's answer, it's true till eternity. He said, son, there is no chosen people, you have to choose. So that was the answer, one line answer. That was it, right? One line from the Qutub is worth, one whole book, you could say. So egocentric I, is I have this religion, I have the scripture, and that's it. The 72 sects in Islam also is like that. I'm from Sunni, that fellow is Shia. I'm from Al Hadith, I am from Barelvi, I am from Tabligh Jamaat, I am Diobandi, I'm going to heaven, everybody else is going to hell. Great, right? Because you know that I is there. The self-preserving and self-gratifying I. It's based on fear. You know why? Because you'll always have such people flock together, brothers and sisters. They'll always be in a mob kind of mentality. They will never be alone. They will not go and say, you know what, let me travel this path. Now look at the fish on the right. It's in Ilmul Bahr. This ocean we are showing is Ilmul Bahr, the ocean of divine wisdom, right? And here the fish is, I'm not saying religion aside. No, I pray 5 times. I fast. I do all the, the tenets of Islam. I do all that. But the point is that try to distinguish between spirituality and religion. When you are spiritual, you say, you know what, I don't know anything, man. Whatever I learned maybe till yesterday, maybe, another enlightened being comes in front of me tomorrow and he tells me something. And because I'm still learning, I am not judging or concluding. I don't have to satisfy any authority. I'm ready to change. I'm ready to look at things from a different angle, not stuck to what, I have learned. Because, the egoistic I will never let you explore, will quickly judge and conclude and put it to rest, because the mind is always afraid of that. Mind is afraid being challenged. It wants to quickly judge and conclude, and that is the narrow-minded mentality, that when you are stuck to the mind, when you go from the mind into the heart opens up. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said the heart of the mu'min is wasi. Allah's heart is beyond imagination. He says, I love you 70 times more than your own mother loves you, who gave birth to you. Allah says, is so, you can't even imagine the depth of the love that a mother has to to her son. And Allah says, I love you 70 times more. And then you get to your soul, which is connected to the nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Brothers and sisters, so this is what we are saying here. Okay, that the topics we're going to cover is spiritual based. Okay, not just religion based. Okay, let me keep going. Again, this is again to level set. Ashadu, I bear witness, right? Ihsan is seeing Allah and worshipping, and we all know this hadith. I'm not going to spend much time on this particular slide. Angel Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam comes to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asked, what is faith? Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, faith is to believe in Allah, His angels, meeting Him, His apostles, and believe the day of resurrection. Then Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam further asked, what is Islam? He said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, to worship Allah alone and nobody else, and to offer prayers perfectly, 5-time prayers, compulsory zakat, observe the fast on the day of the month of Ramadan. Then Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam, third question he asked, what is ihsan? Ihsan, perfection. Allah's Messenger Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam again said, to worship as if you see Allah. And then he added, if you cannot achieve this state of devotion, then you consider that Allah is seeing you. So one is, as seeing Allah is a active, and this is what we're talking about, experience, brothers and sisters, where we covered in the previous few slides back. When you say, then I consider that Allah is seeing me, now the monkey mind has to now cook up something. Oh, Allah is seeing me from where? From Kaaba or from the seventh heaven and all that. Right there, the mind is at play, and the ibadat automatically falls to a lower level of ibadat. Okay, and at that time the witnessing also falls to a lower level, because you can't figure out. So the question is that, how do I get to the level of ihsan, where my awareness, my pure consciousness is witnessing the nur of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, nurun ala nur, and that is witnessing the kalima of la ilaha illallah Muhammad Mustafa Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the question here is, who is this I who is witnessing, and what is it witnessing? What is this, the I witnessing? Ego. We're going to first cover that, and then we go into the uppercase I. It's a statement here, Allah is present in all living beings in the form of a soul. Our soul is the same. The fire elemental energy has nothing to do with the earth, fire, water, air, ether. is not, there's no composition of that and the soul. The soul, the presence of the soul within us is the presence of the of Allah within us. Only by doing long devotional practices and experiences, spiritual experiences, can we realize this soul. So this is not an easy journey that I can just read some books and some tafsirs and I get there. No, no way. Okay. So let's dig deeper into the mind, because the mind is the problem, because that is what is the lowercase I is all about. And we're going to go first understand the mind, how to go beyond it, because I need to, if I need to conquer something, I need to have deep knowledge about that. I cannot have superficial knowledge of something which I need to master and go beyond. I need to have, and that's what we're going to discuss here, brothers, initially. So please have patience, brothers and sisters. And if you need to divide this presentation as you're listening, please go ahead and do that. Okay. So what is mind? Mind is nothing but thoughts. Brothers and sisters, there's nothing else there in the mind. There's a saying here, I just put it, so that it's just a starter, right? It says, the fool tries to control the mind. How can he ever succeed? Mastery always comes naturally to the man who is wise and who loves himself. Very important statement, brothers and sisters. Please keep this in somewhere in your back of your, in your thought process, that one who loves himself, self-love, and we're going to cover that in future slide. Okay, why self-love is so important in this exploration that we are going through. All right, let's go to the next slide. We're going to ask ourselves, what is Maya and illusion? And this is the knowledge again Qutb Muhyiddin Hazrat talked about. So Alame Nasut, we are in the world of form, and this is again, brothers and sisters, it is covered in detail in um, the presentation which is about Kalima Taiba. Okay, all the Alame Nasut, Alame Malakut, Alame Jabrut, Alame Lahut, Alame Yahut, Alame Hahut, all this is covered there. Okay, so we are making a statement here right away. We are saying the world of form gives rise to ego, because the mind, we're going to go going deeper into how the mind functions. Okay, because we need to win over or master the mind. A person who has mastered the mind, he can master, and go beyond into higher level of consciousness. Okay, unfortunately the Sharia level does not even talk about these things, because it is at that level, we are just following a ritual part of religion. It's connect, it could, I'm not saying that the people at the Shariat level, they're definitely close to Allah. I'm not, again, brothers and sisters, this is not to belittle anybody, but the point is that there's much more to it. That's what the Kutubs came. Kutubs came and gave ilm at the level of Hakikat and Marfat and Sufiyat. Okay, this is for any seeker, even like you, like me, who wants to go further. Okay, Alame Nasud, the world of form giving rise to ego. Maya is the illusion that makes us feel that the world of form is the reality and ties us down into its trivial pursuits. The Kutub further says that the Maya is needed to run the world. The illusion is needed to run the world, brothers and sisters. Maya cannot help in the search for ultimate truth. Kutub says that very clearly. Without Maya, without the illusion, perception, not reality, brothers and sisters, it causes, what does it causes? It causes disorder, the drama of life, and which is not limited to clash of civilization, clash of religions, countries. Bigger issue, these are all the, what we talked about is outside me. Bigger issue is duality within my own self. I am separate from others and Allah and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's what duality gives me. And Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, it says, وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلٍ وَرِيدٍ, that I am closer to you than your own jugular vein. Allah is not saying that, I'm in Baitullah. Definitely the tajalli of Ya Jamil is following on the Kaaba, falling on the Kaaba all the time. That's the reason that cubical structure, the Taj Mahal in Agra in India is much more architecturally beautiful than the Kaaba. Nobody can deny that. But when one goes and looks at the cubical structure, gets mesmerized because the tajalli of Ya Jamil, most beautiful, is falling on the Kaaba continuously. So you get mesmerized, just keep looking at it. A person can look at the Kaaba the whole, time he's in Umrah or Hajj, and he will never feel bored. But I can go to Taj Mahal 4 or 5 times. After that, I'll get bored. So this is the same thing. Even the architecture looks good. So the point is that, you know, uh, I need to understand what Maya means. Okay, what is this illusion means for me? Okay, so we're going to talk about a little more detail about Maya. The Kutub says the world is covered by Maya. Allah has created this powerful Maya which looks very attractive from outside, brothers and sisters. And that is the world of form, whether it is woman, money, gold, silver, beautiful palaces, all that thing, attractive. When the eyes looks at it, gets mesmerized. It and then the Kutub further says is he says that whatever you're looking at, it's not what it is. It looks different from what it is actually. It creates an illusion of false beliefs that we run around the entire life seeking it, and attractions. The Kutub further says that it is like the mirage in the desert. There is an appearance of water, but when you close, there's nothing there. A person who gets bonded or get attracted to this gets into the mesh. It's like the fish getting caught in a fisherman's net. Maya is just due to the ignorance of my own true self. I don't know who I am. And the Kutub finally says such a a very very deep statement. He says that even the concept of Allah, Maya overlaps Allah and presents itself as Allah. Brothers and sisters, this is very deep. That Maya is so dangerous. If I don't understand it, if I don't decipher it, Maya overlaps Allah. It creates a shield around Allah and presents itself as Allah. Due to Maya, all the living beings suffer in this world. When we look at suffering, whether it's Syria, so many wars, everything is all because of Maya. The illusionary power of Maya will always show you, momentary happiness. But then somebody goes beyond, running behind that, will always have a lot of hidden miseries connected to it. And Kutub says that the Maya is so powerful that under its influence, human beings forget their own real identity. Brothers and sisters, this is the Ashadi we are talking about. What is my real identity? Who is doing the witness? Who should be doing the witness? Not my ego-based identity, which is the lowercase I. Only after getting free of the net of the Maya can one visualize the absolute reality, which is the Nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So, brothers and sisters, we are living in a world where, it's very difficult to differentiate between what is real and what is unreal. Okay, so Kutub puts it into perspective. A simple example I'm giving, and I know you're all so intelligent, so but again, this is for just to put it in. I'm not going to spend much time. It says, say my father is in the cabinet minister of a dictator of a country. On the dictator who's the ruler of the country, he has got so much of wealth and all this and that. Every time my birthday comes, the dictator, because he's so close, my father is so close to him, he will give me a very expensive gift and he hugs me. The dictator hugs me, right? For me, he's my dear uncle. I call him uncle. I can go, I can do whatever in the world is available for me. He's my dear uncle. I'll kiss him, I hug him. But since he's a dictator, there are a lot of people whose rights have been tampered on. Maybe they are, in jails. So my perception of this uncle is totally different from a person who is in the jail, who is the dictator has put into prison without a proper trial and justice, and he'll say, oh, this is a demon. So this is what we're talking about, brothers and sisters. Okay, so illusion has engulfed me because for me, the dictator is my sweet uncle, right? So that's what we're talking about here. Similarly, the world is like that. It's covered with Maya. I need to decipher that. How do I get rid of this Maya and look at world the way it is? You have to go back within your own self. And this is what the presentation is talking about, brothers and sisters. Okay, so perception, conclusion, judgment arrived from the five senses may or may not be accurate. And that's the problem. Lack of observation without going through a conditioned mind. What happens when you judge from the five senses, and when you rush to make a judgment and conclusion, slowly your mind becomes conditioned. Even I have to be careful with that. I always, when I go into meditation, there are powerful meditation techniques, brothers and sisters, where you are so open that, what, if I'm proved wrong tomorrow, great, there's no problem, I'll accept it. So, and that is a very fearless way of living life, where you're ready to accept that I could be wrong, and you're ready to accept the next reality. Because what happens is that there's a hadith that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that between the creation and Allah, there are 70,000 veils. And believe me, brothers and sisters, when you go through each of these veils, right, sometimes whatever concept you had about some topic gets completely thrown out when you go to the next level, spiritual level. So you cannot be a sheikh in this path. I know everything. There's no way. Because the moment you say I'm a sheikh, then you stop learning. You can only be a seeker in this path, brothers and sisters. Okay, so to be a fakir is and we're going to cover that, ana fakru fakri wa fakru minni, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam talked about. So again, in this presentation, throughout this presentation, we're going to follow the rule that we said the lowercase I is talking about the body conscious ego, and pure awareness, which is connected to the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, my consciousness, is the uppercase I. Okay. We're going to talk about the content of the mind here for an individual who is not aware of true self, his true self. That means I'm still body conscious. When I say I look at the mirror and say, okay, this is me, you know, connected to a body and form. So the lowercase I, which is connected to the ego, which is body consciousness, thoughts, emotions, likes, dislikes, attachments, aversion, positive, negative attitude, impulses. That is what defines my personality. I like this, I don't like that. Five senses: seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, tasting, all outbound. Unless they are tamed, which are the inputs to my mind, these five senses will make my life miserable. We are saying a statement here: quality of the sense inputs, whatever you input through the senses, whether what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're smelling, what you're touching, what you're tasting, that determines the quality of the content of your mind. And we all agree to that, right? There's nothing, if garbage in, garbage out, simple as that. Conscious control of the senses need to be exercised to attain purity. Once activity develops into habits. So if I'm doing something, if I do repeatedly for 40 days, it becomes a habit. Similarly, if I have to break a bad habit, it takes 40 days to not do it, then it breaks the habit. Okay. Habits, after it goes on of another 3 months, approximately 120 days, it becomes a tendency. Now what happens in a tendency? In tendency, before you in the first 40 days, when you are doing something, for example, again example just for understanding, my friend gave me a cigarette. I started smoking. First day I smoke and start coughing. Second day he gives me, third day he gives me, fourth day he doesn't have to give me. I will already go and buy one for myself and I'll start trying it. 40 days later, now it's a habit now, because without that I can't survive. But here's the scary part: after approximately 120 days of the habit, because 40 days is to create an habit, between 40 days and 120 days, another two more 40 days, 40 day cycle happens. After 120 days, it becomes a tendency. Now what does tendency mean? Previously, when you were smoking cigarette number one, we said, oh, I just had a cigarette at 8 o'clock, the second one at 10, third one during lunchtime. You are conscious about it. Once it becomes a tendency, you're not even conscious about it. You'll look at your pack and say, oh, I already went through a whole pack. So brothers and sisters, that is how the mind works. Okay. So what we're saying is that the tendencies, once you get to tendencies, it may bypass your conscious mind. You will not even have a point where it will say, wait a minute, should I be smoking right now or not? Even that is lost. Okay. In that state, we do things without contemplation. We regret an action after it is performed. All this, brothers and sisters, what we are talking about is, this is all connected to the lowercase I. Our previous actions, experiences stored in the subconscious mind. Everything stored in subconscious mind, which may surface occasionally into the conscious mind and cause positive or negative effect on our mental health. Based on that, our actions will be doing our actions in the present or in the future. So conditioning of the mind is happening, and seeker is not aware of it because he's connected to the world of form. Unless he goes internal and he starts looking at his own self and says, let me decipher this me, who's, for example, okay, I say my name is Amir. Who is this Amir? Is this a form, the Amir? And you decipher yourself completely. Then you understand that you start looking at yourself deeply. Then you can connect your mind to your heart and the soul. We're going to cover to that, go through that in this. And we're going to talk about techniques also, brothers and sisters, not just theory. We're going to talk about powerful techniques that you can try. So we experience memories, past memories stored in our database of your mind, pleasant or past painful. What we actually called mind is an extraordinary tool, a power that Allah has given us. It reflects our consciousness. The mind's battery, brothers and sisters, is coming from consciousness, which is a connection to the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which is within you and me. It is imprinted at the third eye for every human being. If nurtured properly, it becomes the greatest asset for our goal to reach illallahu. Okay. Now, who is this I? Here we are talking about the uppercase I, because I'm talking about consciousness, awareness, which can see the Noor in meditation. Who is witnessing, and what is that I am witnessing? Ashadu is mighty words, brothers and sisters. I witness. As we said, if you witness a traffic accident and you are the witness, man, you are definitely very critical for that case. So when I say Ashadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu rasuluh, it's mighty words. Did I just hear somebody say that, or my father say that, or my mother say that, and I just followed it through? Or did I see the kalima? Question is, if my personality is filled with choices, likes and dislikes, pleasure and pain, love and or hate, happiness or sadness, richness, poverty, loss, gain, material or spiritual, acceptance of, and rejection of society, conform to authority, so that I'm in the good books, doesn't mean that you become a rebel. No, but sometimes in the spiritual path, if you have to break free, you may have to become a rebel so you can explore. Otherwise you become conditioned because you already concluded and judged, right? Desires and disinterest, fame and ill repute, praise and blame, attachments and non-attachments to objects, ideas and concepts. So if the biggest thing is the 11th one, identify oneself as the mind and the body, no identification as the soul. Brothers and sisters, none of the things mentioned above are worth claiming to be me or mine. My pleasures are me. My choices are me. How many people would like to say that? My BMW car is me. No, it's just a car. It's my car. It's not me. My desires are me. No, desires can change. Desire to see the blessed face of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, to go through trials and tribulations, to learn the proper ilm. That's also a desire, but that is the desire which will take you to illallahu. So it is not to get rid of the desire, but what is the object of the desire? Richness or poverty. If you have a lot of wealth, you can use it for the better, for your akhirah. Love or hate. Now, love, most of the people, and I talked about in presentation, love for most of the people, they misunderstand it, because true love is annihilation, brothers and sisters, where you annihilate into the object of love. True love is giving, not taking. People, the youngsters of today, they need to understand this. True love is not about taking, pleasure oriented, lust oriented, material oriented. No. True love is about giving. And we'll cover that in future slides. All the images forms that bottled up inside the mind. With all that, I have a personality of my own, and then I say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu rasuluh. What does that really mean? What does that statement mean? With all this personality that, adjunct which I'm connected to. At the higher level, the witness of the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and to merge with the divinity within my own self. Because there is no image and form for Allah. All negative qualities emerges from body consciousness, which is object based, brothers and sisters, and that is all the mind can do. Mind can only work if it is object based. Otherwise the mind cannot. Basic techniques to control the mind. Okay. Right inputs to the brain. We talked about it. Garbage in, garbage out. 5 senses. Right conduct. Husn khuluq. Ad-deenu an-nasiha. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, what is deen? It is, husn khuluq, which is the best of behaviors and the best advice. At a physical level, rhythmic breathing, exercise, healthy diet. A healthy mind resides in a healthy body. We all know that. Very important, next one. Set aside time for oneself. Self-love, we're going to talk about that in detail, brothers and sisters. Self-love is very important. We ignore self-love. I'm not talking about the selfish love, which is, oh, I want this, I want that, this is for me, and I'm the great guy. No, I'm talking about self-love. It is different from self-centered love. Okay, self-love, again, set aside time for yourself. Meditation, prayer, tafakkur, deep thinking, reading, listening to positive talks, going deep within your own self. Good company, pilgrimage to holy places with strong and positive vibrations. Makkah, Medina, you could go to Jerusalem. You can go to holy places, to the mazars of the kutubs, of the walis, very positive vibrations. If you have reached a higher level, you can go into meditation at the mazar of the kutub or a wali, of awliya of Allah, and you can connect to his soul, which is there, and you can learn from him. Understand the value of devotion. Devotion, again, brothers and sisters, is directly dependent upon true love. Otherwise, devotion won't survive. It won't survive in the long run. The devotion of the mother having towards her child. What do you think? She's expecting anything from her child? No. It's pure love. That's what devotion is. Have high values and principles in life, brothers and sisters. Very, very important. And definitely the next one, have excellent role models. Don't have lower kind of personalities role models, because they're not going to get you anywhere. You always have to do catch up. That's the best way. Because it's better to keep running behind a role model, because you'll get somewhere, because he's climbing a mountain and you'll keep running behind him. Though you are looking at his feet and climbing, right? You'll reach some height by the time. So have Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Sahabis, Kutubs, Awliyas, enlightened souls as your role models. Not the role models of this world who are billionaires and who make money of different ways. No. Doesn't mean don't make money. But the point is that choose your criteria important. Otherwise, that ashadu is going to be that ashadu of egocentric, body conscious ashadu, which really has no meaning. It's just a statement. Lust, desire, anger, greed, jealousy, revenge. These are the 6 enemies within us, and they create negative waves in our mind, brothers and sisters. Very powerful waves, and they can control your emotions, your future, your relationships. Divorce happens, people fight, countries kill each other, they go to war because of lust, desire, anger, greed, jealousy, and revenge. That's it. Scientific approach to cultivate a stable aura. This is just one slide I put it. This is talking about equanimity of thoughts, calmness and composure, especially in difficult situations. This is something we all struggle in our life. I may be sitting at, in a garden right now and doing this recording, but what if I'm put in a difficult situation, which is not, what I was expecting, and suddenly I have to confront it. How do I do it? Most important, not reacting to impulses. Somebody is getting, making me, angry. No, don't react to impulses. External or internal stimulus. It could be coming from within you too. Maybe you had a bad experience with somebody 2 days back, and suddenly that memory comes into you, and your heartbeat goes up, and you start sweating, and your rhythmic breathing is stopped now, and suddenly you start feeling miserable because the guy is not in front of you, but he just his thought has made your life miserable. Maybe you're sitting at a dining table with your wife and children and trying to have a good meal. The poor wife have cooked you a good meal, and you, instead of enjoying that meal, you think about that idiot who has spoiled your, gave you a bad experience 2 days back, right? Equanimity acts like a circuit breaker, blocks normal response in the mind that moves from feeling into cravings to clinging to thoughts, clinging to attractions, whatever, and finally which ends up in suffering. Okay, so equanimity does not mean that you become cold, emotionless, no, indifference or apathy, lack of interest, no. But equanimity, and this can be developed with meditation, is you're present in this world, you're very well aware of this world, um, there is a saying, you know in India it says that, when the dog lifts his tail, you know why it is lifting, because it wants to urinate, right? So you are well aware why the dog is lifting its tail, sorry, its leg. The dog lifts his hind leg, not the tail. So we are well aware of what's happening in that situation you are in and what is going on, but you let it happen. Don't involve yourself into it unless one gets commanded by higher power to act out of compassion, kindness, joy, and well-being of others. Otherwise, remain silent. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in a beautiful hadith says, keep away from things that which does not concern you. Beautiful. One statement. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam put that into perspective. With meditation, one becomes more and more aware of the feelings and emotional tones of oneself, not the outside. If somebody can push buttons remotely within me and make me flare up, then I need to know about that first before the guy outside is doing that to me. Because if he presses the right buttons and I go off, steam out, right? Then I have basically given my control to somebody outside. So we have to observe them. Our mood swings, we have to observe them. You can observe that in meditation. And we're going to talk about in detail, what meditation really is. Do not chase or resist them. Do not chase your, anger or your lust, or just observe. Let the bud, whatever is your emotion at that time, let it flower. Because the flowering of the bud is itself its dying. Because after some time, when the bud flowers into beautiful flower, after some days it stays, and then few days later it dies. So instead of chasing the emotion, just observe it. If you have bad sexual thoughts, don't resist it. If you resist it, it's going to become much bad. Just observe it. Thoughts. I'm not talking about pornography. You'll make it worse. Observe the thought. After some time, you say, okay, it's an experience. Okay. And after some time, it will melt away. If you keep doing that over and over and over again, after that, some time, the ability of these thoughts to control you goes off. So equanimity is an unusual state of the brain. The normal state is the brain is always looking for threat, either looking for pleasure or threat. And that's part of the limbic system. So what we are doing in this slide is we are making the limbic system not respond the way it should. Okay. We're going to go deep into the next section, which is the nature of the ego. I really need to get deeper into this thing. Okay. Because there is a direct correlation between body consciousness and ego, brothers and sisters. The small saying here, but a man without desire is a lion. When the senses, we're talking about the five senses, sees him, it is they who take flight, they who run away. Like elephants, as quietly as they can. The elephants, when they run away, they run away very quietly. And if these senses they cannot escape, they will serve him like slaves. Okay. Brothers and sisters, what is body consciousness? And we're going to decipher that because we're going to go into the depth of this thing. Again, brothers and sisters, as I said, this is a very long topic, so please take, breaks in between. What is body consciousness? We're going to dismantle body consciousness quickly. Okay. So what we are saying here is ask a child, a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, your child, your niece or your nephew or your sibling, 3-year-old or 4-year-old. Okay. Ask, where is Ibrahim? Say his name is Ibrahim or Maryam. Where is Maryam? So you will notice the child who has not been trained, okay, not been conditioned of how to respond to this, he or she will not touch her leg and say this is Maryam or Ibrahim. She will not touch her stomach and say which is Maryam, this is Maryam or Ibrahim. She will automatically take her right hand most of the time and touch the heart center, brothers and sisters, and say this is Maryam, this is Ibrahim. This is the fitra, brothers and sisters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put the consciousness of who I am at the heart level. But if you ask the child, pointing it to its leg and say, is this you? He'll say, oh no, this is my leg. You ask the child, where is your nose? It will point to its nose. If you ask the child, where is your eyes? It will point to its eyes. It will not say, point to your eyes and say, this is me. The moment you ask the child the question, where is Ibrahim? Where is Maryam? He or she will point, take her hand and put it on the chest and say, this is me. So brothers and sisters, right here is something thought, food for thought. The child who is 3 or 4 years old knows that these body parts is not me. So the heart, when he or she points to the heart, there is something within the heart that she's pointing to. The soul, brothers and sisters. This is the fitra. We forget this important thing in our life. What we are saying, the more the ego subsides, because the body consciousness, the least the individual is affected by what is going around him. External circumstances, which is likes, dislikes, desires, attachments, which feeds the ego through body consciousness. I like this, I like that, I don't like this, I don't like that. All this happens. Our habits turns into inclinations, into tendencies. We talked about it. This has to weaken. This can be done by self-inquiry. Man arfa nafsahu faqad arfa rabbahu. Who is this nafs? Man arfa nafsahu. Who is this nafs? This is the I we are talking about. What is the source of this nafs? The I, the small I. And how are we going to dismantle the small I? Because that is the root of the problem. We're going to talk about that, brothers. How are we going to dismantle the small I? So that we get into the uppercase I, which is our consciousness. Duality, which is ego, is the root of all separation. Because God is separate from me. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is separate from me. God is the second person. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the third person. I, the great guy, is the subject. When the ego melts, brothers and sisters, this only a person who is in that path higher up will know that, but I'll put this, whatever action we take conforms to divine will. Because the doership is lost. The ego is not driving the person anymore. The five elemental energies or the five senses is not driving the person anymore. He's an enlightened soul. At that level, the doership is lost. And what remains at that point is, he is doing whatever is needed according to the will of Allah. Beautiful example of Maula Hussain. He has taken his wives, his children, his sister's children, his 6-month-old baby to Karbala. Brothers and sisters, who will do that? If you are in danger, you'll try the worst scenario is, okay, I'm in danger, I will face it. I'll not take my children there to Karbala. But so much of hikmat, we covered that in Fanaf Rasul. There are so many presentations about that. You can go and read it. Maula Hussain was acting according to divine will, brothers and sisters. And I'm going to cover a little bit topic here. This is beautiful. Maula Hussein's Karbala. It reflects. I reflect, and every time I'm going to meditation, and more is revealed to me. You read and then you go into meditation. You go into meditation. More is revealed to you. The truth is revealed to you. Brothers and sisters, when Maula Hussein's body was cut into 9 pieces, brothers and sisters, the right hand was at the left place. Everything dismantled. Brothers and sisters, how I don't know how to say that. When he was being shaheed, he said, not to remove his clothes. Brothers and sisters, can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? The grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, treat the body with dignity. Even today, soldiers do that. Even if two countries fight war, they exchange, bodies. You have to have he's a soldier in battle. Even though battles are not good, but still, they respect, they exchange bodies so that the bodies can go back to families and be buried with honor. Well, sisters, Mullah Hussein's, he had a ring from Mullah Ali on his, a finger. One of these Yazidis, he couldn't get the ring out because his body had swollen, right? Because, out of the injuries, because the ring was not coming out. The person cut the finger, brothers, to take to take the ring of Mullah Hussein. They mutilated his body. And even after they had him, 109 wounds were, brothers and sisters, on his body. And then they trampled their bodies with horses. Now, I'm asking this question, brothers and sisters. They attacked him with knives, attacked him with swords, with daggers, with spears, everything possible. Brothers and sisters, right next to his body, there were asas, there were staff also. Wooden sticks. Question yourself, man. They want to finish the Shaheed, all the Karbala, the true believers. So what is this Asa doing there? You have knives, you have, all the weapons you want. What is the Asa doing there? Oh, it was the day of Juma. And the Yazidi camp had 23,000 soldiers. And they had khutbas going on there. Well, sisters, the member of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in Yazidi camp had khutbas going on there. And the imams who were giving the khutbas, there were 1,000 Hafiz Quran and 600 muftis in the Yazidi camp. They had staffs with them because, it was a culture there. The person who, the imam, when he starts giving the khutbah, he's got a staff with him. It's not necessary, but he had a staff. So that staff was used to beat the body of Mullah Hussein, brothers and sisters. This is the disgrace that the ego takes us to. Where, the Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat talks about the darkness of the mind, the egocentric mind. So, brothers and sisters, it's extremely important for me and you to decipher who this I is, and to literally dismantle the egoistic I. Because if you don't dismantle the egoistic I, believe me, brothers and sisters, if you and I were in Karbala, who knows that we would be with the 72, with Mullah Hussein, or we'll be with the 22,000. I thank Allah so much that, what, maybe I didn't have the Iman. I'm afraid of that. Some people say, oh, maybe, I remember one of the brothers coming and telling me, oh, I wish I was, with the Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam during when he was in body form. I said, really? What if you were in body form at that time and then you are with Abu Jahl and company? You think your Iman was at that level? The amount of trials and tribulations and sacrifices. Ummah Khadija Kubra, the richest lady in Makkah, the wealth of entire Makkah, all traders put together could not equal the wealth of Ummah Khadija Kubra. And when she died in Shaib Abu Talib, where the economic boycott was going on for 3 years, the Mu'mineen was taken out from their houses. Even Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they were living in huts in the middle of the desert for 3 days. This is behind Safa and Marwa, the Shaib Abu Talib, that area was called. And Ummah Khadijatul Kubra, she passed away there because of, malnutrition and ill health. Brothers and sisters. And we have the audacity of people who went and destroyed her, tomb. That tomb is part of Jannah, Jannatul Naeem, connected to the Jannat of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It's beyond Jannatul Firdaus. You sit there and recite Surah Fatiha, Surah Yasin for Ummah Khadija, and if you are a lover of Ahlul Bayt, she will embrace you. I have gone through that experience myself, even after without the tomb. When I went there, I recited Surah Fatiha, Surah Yasin, the entire area filled with fragrance. Even a sinner like me has experienced that. So, brothers and sisters, very important. This is not a small thing. I need to find out what the lowercase I is. Then, so that when I dismantle that lowercase I, the uppercase I, which is awareness, will shine, and I see the nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam within me. And the self-love automatically gets generated when you see the nur within your own self. Brothers and sisters, you start loving yourself because that is your true identity. Okay. For an egoistic person, right, the body consciousness is his. He thinks that is what he is. But then I am this 5 sheets. When I look at my body, we're going to dismantle the body into 5 sheets. We're going to talk about it. Let's go to the 5 sheets, brothers and sisters. The first one, physical body. This is not the body which is pumping, the lungs expanding and contracting and the heart is beating, pumping blood out. No. This is the body, physical body with no activity. That is actually your physical body. The activity within the physical body, which is the lungs is expanding, contracting, heart is beating, is called a life force sheath. Is the second one, if you see the slide here. So we don't even have a distinction that physical body is separate and the life force is separate. We think everything is together. That is the amount of ignorance we are in right now. And then we look at the mirror and say, oh, this is me, Adil, or this is me, Sajid, or this is me, Amir. And then I say, oh, I'm white guy, I'm black guy, I'm brown guy. Great, right? So unfortunately, that is where we are stooped down to. We are given too much importance to this body and the skin and all that. We're given too much importance to that. And then we say ashadu of what, So let's go through it. Physical body, no activity, it's like a log of wood. Am I this body? The question I'm asking here. And we are looking at the lowercase I. The egoistic I is asking, am I this body? We're going to dismantle that. The body is an object of perception. When I say, am I this body? Somebody else is asking the question, am I this body? Brother and sister, I hope you agree to that. So the subject who is asking is different from the object. Medical science goes and deciphers the body, the kidneys, the liver, the pancreas, everything. So I cannot be the body because I'm studying the body. Okay. So simple as that. I say that, and brothers and sisters, very important, we say in the slide here, it says most of the time I'm not conscious about my body. Oh, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat food. Are you aware that as soon as you ate the food, the juices is being secreted in the stomach, pancreas is secreting, generating, insulin, liver is generating the bile. Are you aware of that? No. So literally, you're not body conscious. You're a little bit body conscious when you're sick. Oh, I have a throat pain. Then the throat pain becomes, you have, the moment the throat pain is gone and you are all energetic back, healthy back, you don't think about the throat anymore. Your headache, oh, my head is aching. Oh, right. That's how so body consciousness is very little. So me saying the subject, which is the uppercase I, we're talking about consciousness here, brothers, is not the body. Let's look at the second one. The life force, which is making my heart beat, the lungs contract and expanding, is this vital energy which keeps my body alive. Brothers and sisters, the moment the soul separates from the body, think about it. The moment the soul separates from the body has got everything. The heart is there, the lungs is there. You're not dismantled anything. But what happens? It's like you have a toy and you just took the battery off. Toy is there, which is as good as you know, log of wood, no activity. Now I am aware that I am breathing. If I'm normally it's an involuntary action, right? Breathing, I don't have to voluntarily breathe. But the moment I say, let me concentrate on my breathing, the breath going in, breath going out, I'm aware of the breathing, which means somebody else, my subject is aware of the breathing, which means I conclude that the vital energy is not me. Okay. So I'm not the body. We said that. I'm not the life force sheet also. One statement here we say we can control vital energy and make the mind go to higher levels of consciousness. This is again, brothers and sisters, when you go to deeper levels of meditation, you can do some exercises, spiritual exercises, breathing exercises. There are different other exercises where you can make your mind go to higher levels and different other dimensions open up. Okay, using the vital energy, brothers and sisters. Okay, I just put that statement there. It's a reality, so people can be aware of it. Third one is the mind sheet. Okay, thoughts, emotions, dramas, our professions and all that, mind. But again, we are seeing, is this the consciousness? Is this the subject? I, the I-ness within me. The mind can be studied, my thoughts, my actions, likes, dislikes, right? So again, mind is an object of perception. Like the physical body is an object of perception, life force is an object of perception. The mind is also an object of perception which can be studied. So hence it cannot be the subject. Okay, put to rest. Intellect, next sheet. My intellect, oh, which I can do right, wrong, decisions in life, this and that. But I can easily say that, oh, today I'm a little lazy. My intellect is not that sharp. I'm a little bored. So literally, you're not the intellect, because you say my intellect is not sharp. I am a little bored. I'm a little sad. I'm a little depressed. Oh, I don't feel like working today. I don't feel like studying today. Intellect. So I don't feel like, right? I don't feel like, because my intellect is not sharp. Again, which means intellect is also an object, not the subject I. My car, not I am the car. My car, right? My body, not I am the body. My life force, not I am the life force. My heart is beating. No, that's not me. Mind sheet, thoughts, emotions, actions. Oh, I am that thought who got angry yesterday. No, no, no. That is not me. I got, definitely got angry during that situation, but that angry thought is not me. Similarly, intellect, right? And finally, the fifth one is the causal sheet, brothers and sisters. It's a sheet of bliss. This sheet is, once you have conquered the mind and the intellect, going to the causal sheet. This is where the closest sheet to the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is. When one reaches that point, the thought ceases. Because it doesn't cease because you stop thought. Nobody can stop thought thinking, brothers and sisters. Very, very deep, and we're going to cover that. Okay. Again, as I said, this is going to be very a long presentation, but I'm going to try and cover everything here. One cannot stop thinking. If you say I'm going to stop thinking and then meditate, trying to stop thinking is another thought, brothers and sisters. So there's no reality, or there is no truth in saying, I can stop thinking. No. All right. But once you get to that sheet, which is the bliss sheet, where this is a closer sheet to the Nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, before you do the Ashadu, brothers, this is where it is. Before you really do the Ashadu. This is the Ashadu at the Ihsan level, seeing the Nur and worshipping Allah. Okay. The formless Allah. And the formless state of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. At that point, silence prevails, brothers and sisters. That particular thing is, this is your own journey, brothers and sisters. Every person, you, me, everybody is unique. We'll have our own journey. Cannot describe that in words. Only you have to experience it. Because if you can't describe that in words, seeing the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that means you have not seen the Noor. A person who sees the Noor, he becomes silent, brothers and sisters. Because there is no way you can put it in words. What is ego? Where does it arise from, right? That's very important. Where does this damn thing just comes and overpowers me? Ego arises between pure consciousness and body consciousness, brothers and sisters. Pure consciousness is illuminating my entire body. Every cell in my body right now is functioning because of pure consciousness. And the amount, the Noor connected to the body is 1 millionth the size of an atom, brothers and sisters. The Qutub says it is so tiny, the connection to the body. Think about it. Even the atom looks much bigger than in that size. The reason is because the Noor is so powerful. If Allah had increased the diameter of the Noor to twice, this body would have disintegrated, brothers and sisters. So the connection of our physical body, life energy, the mind and the intellect, the soul connected to the body is at a very minute physical dimension, the connection from a physical dimension perspective. It just linked, because if Allah had increased the diameter of that connection to twice that what it is there, this body would dismantle. It will not be able to take the power, the enormous power which is there in the Nur. Okay, this you would experience it if you go into meditation. Okay, and that is the real eye which witnesses the Nur Nala Nur, the Nur of Allah and the Nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The Nur of Allah, reciting the salawat on his beloved Habib Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam all the time. Inna Allah malaikatuna salluna ala nabi ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi salliman taslima. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Ahmad in the heavens, reciting the third kalima. Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah Allahu akbar wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi wa huwal aliyyul azim. The beautiful relationship. It's going on 7/24, brothers and sisters. From the time, endless time, till the eternity, it'll go on. That's the reality of the kalma, ashadu, and you become the witness for that. The individual I, the name and the form, the mind by default is tranquil, brothers and sisters. By default, the mind is not a monkey mind, brothers and sisters. But for an ordinary person who does not understand, who thinks that I am the body, mind is not, tranquil. It has got two activities going on all the times. Modifications. What is modifications? Jumping from one thought to another thought. Jumping from one phenomena to another phenomena. And this jumping creates constant thoughts. So person is bombarded with thoughts and this modifications. Modifications again means I was thinking something, then I go and think something else. Then I combine these two. Right? When the mind becomes still, the lowercase I disappears, brothers and sisters, because the body consciousness goes away and the eternal I surfaces, the uppercase. The fakirs are in this state, brothers and sisters. They see the nur within themselves, surrender into the state of bliss. The sajda that Allah asked Shaitan to do, that is ashadu, because he was this at that day when Shaitan was asked to do sajda in front of the lifeless body of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, the nur of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was imprinted on the forehead of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. Shaitan saw the nur overwhelmed him, engulfed him. He lost his identity and he knew that he will become the slave of this nur, and he did not want to do that. He was connected to his body consciousness, brothers and sisters. He wanted to keep his body consciousness. So he said, I will not bow to this nur. Even though the nur overpowered him, he lost his identity. What identity? Identity of body consciousness. So brothers and sisters, very important what I'm trying to say here. Shaitan will always try to keep you in body consciousness, because that is what made him fail on that day. If you focus your entire spiritual energy to get out of body consciousness, brothers and sisters, Shaitan is not a big deal. I'm telling you right now. Don't look at Shaitan as an enemy. I don't look at him as an enemy. Definitely I have to be careful from his tricks. But you know what? I learned from him a lot. Even Rabitul Adwi, she was a Kalandar. She was asked, she was in Basra. She was asked by one of the disciples that, she was a woman of so much of wisdom. She was a mother of so much of love and wisdom. She was asked, what did you learn from Shaitan? She said, persistence. He's very persistent, she said. He's a positive quality too, brothers and sisters. He's persistently trying to, misguide people. That's a good quality. Even though the niyat is not good, but persistence itself is good quality. Okay, so let's keep going. Higher level is reached and you witness the kalima within one's own self, after beyond which silence prevails, brothers and sisters. You lose your identity, and that is the best thing that you can happen to you. Okay, Nabil Ummi, I brought it up here, brothers and sisters. Nabil Ummi, he spoke little, to the point. If you look at any hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's very concise. But most of the time, the most important, Nabil Ummi. Why? Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself is the kalima, and he is witnessing the nur nala nur every moment. That is the title of Nabil Ummi. Because when you have realized everything, then silence prevails, brothers and sisters. It is not the in auzubillah. There are some sects who say that he was unlettered in auzubillah. Their iman is talked about in a hadith that they will, during the times of fitna of Dajjal, which we are going through right now, there will be believers in the morning, and they will, in the evening, they will be kafirs. They will have sold their deen for the trinklets of the world. Another hadith talks about such people, which says that their iman will go out from their hearts faster than the bow goes out from the arrow goes out from the bow. These are those people or the sects who belittle Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's true state, and they are in body consciousness, and they think they are the great guys. They don't know the difference between the lowercase I, the ego-based I, and the awareness. And these are the people who are saying that if I am going to Jannah. Brothers and sisters, be a seeker. Don't judge and conclude. I am in the path too. But you need to realize these things, the truths, because you need to make sure that you learn from mistakes, even from your enemies. Learn it from them, because they are learning, giving you live examples. Why I'm putting this on the internet? Why? To get some fame? No, I'm just sharing it so that maybe somebody can benefit. If there is truth in this thing, or maybe I'm a fitna myself, I don't know. But I'm putting it with a pure conscience and pure intention, brothers and sisters. So I hope people benefit out of it, inshallah. Okay, so Nabil Ummi doesn't mean in auzubillah, unlettered. In auzubillah. You'll become a murtad. You'll become a murtad. You'll go out of Islam within a second if you believe in these, demeaning and insulting, ideas about our beloved Nabi Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They have not seen Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Even in the form state, they have not seen. It's a beautiful experience when you see the Rasul in the form state. It's a beautiful experience, brothers and sisters. Believe me, once you see the Rasul in the form state, whether it's in a dream, the whole world after that is like a restroom, like a bathroom. Have no more attractions to the world. A person who has seen the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, mashallah, that's it. All the attractions of the world, desires, attachments, everything, ego goes away. That's what happened to the Sahabis. When Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is taking wudu, a strand of hair falls from his beard, they would take and preserve it in their houses. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is clipping his nails, they will collect the nails. They'll go back to their houses and they have some difficulties. And they'll say, Ya Allah, because of this hair that I have in my hand of your beloved Nabi, fulfill my need. This is the Aqidah. Before of this, because of the nail clipping of your beloved Habib, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, or Rasul, make my life easy. Or ask something from Allah. They knew, brothers and sisters, this is their Aqidah. And here people are destroying the tombs, they're destroying everything that belongs to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You go to Madinah Munawwara, a lot of places where Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sat, the date palm trees of Salman Farsi radiallahu anhu, demolished, everything cut, and then put a masjid there. What? Why do you want to build a masjid there? For 1300 years there was no masjid. A date palm tree which Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam planted with his own hands, it survived for 1300 plus years. You want to cut it down and put a masjid there? What the hell? Why are you taking people away from the Prophet? There's a place in Uhud, in the mountain of Uhud, brothers and sisters. I took my family there in 2015. And there's a small cave, there are two caves there. One cave is where Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he was injured, and Hazrat Umar bin Khattab, Abu Bakr Siddiq, Umar, and Mawla Ali, everybody ran and took shelter. There's a cave there. The Uhud mountain split, and then Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam rested there. But you have to climb a little more top, it's a tricky climb. You cannot go with your children. But there was a smaller cave where Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sat for some time. Brothers and sisters, I went there with my children in 2015. I remember that. And this cave is at ground level. You don't have to climb up. That's what I meant. The place where Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam rested his head on, inside the cave, that place is like sponge. Brothers and sisters, you can touch it and the rock goes back and forth like you're touching sponge. If you go close, there's a fragrance of kasturi. Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat talked about the kasturi. Fragrance of kasturi is still emanating from that rock. The rock has got the impressions of the curly hair of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You go and kiss that, you feel the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I went with my children, we did that. We even made a media out of it. 2019, I go again for Umrah. The present government has sealed that place. They put concrete slab and sealed that place, brothers and sisters. Why? Shirk and bid'ah? I want to get close to my Nabi. I want to feel his fragrance. Come on, man. I would have been idol worshipper. I'm worshipping Allah today. That is Rabb Muhammad. I'm worshipping. The Rabb of Ahmad I'm worshipping. Otherwise, I would be worshipping stones like Lat or Uzza or Lakshmi or something, some god. 33,000 gods. Brothers and sisters. So let me continue. Our state is what? Sex deny the Noor within our own self, brothers and sisters. This is the pathetic state we are in. People even deny the Noor. Shaitan saw the Noor and he did not bow, brothers and sisters. Shaitan was in a better condition because at least he saw the Noor. He did not deny the Noor, brothers and sisters. But he said, okay, I'm going to deny it. He did not deny. He said, I see the Noor, but I'm not going to bow. We have sects within Muslims who deny the Noor. Ba Muhyiddin Hazrat, when he came, the Kutub, the 11th Kutub, he talks about the Noor 90% of his times. And I have a beautiful song, the Kutub song sang. I put it to the last slide, brothers and sisters. Please listen to that song and just feel the love that he talks about when he takes the name of Amina, the blessed mother of Rasulullah. Please listen to that last slide, brothers and sisters. I put that song there. This is the reality, brothers and sisters. So today we have sects who deny existence of the Noor. So the point I'm trying to say here is that if you deny something, you're not going to look for it. Pathetic lives. Move on. We're talking about past civilizations now. They were at higher level, not during this few years, 1,000 years, we're talking much higher. There were civilizations before, Mayan civilizations, other civilizations. They could locate the center of the galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, 27,000 light years away from us, which is, in today's science, they call Sagittarius A star. There was no Hubble telescope, no supercomputers at that time to do the calculations, but they had detailed all these findings in old scriptures, which was found later on. How? By going into our own self, connected to the Noor, everything is given to you, knowledge is bestowed to you. Brothers and sisters, when you connect to this Noor, a minute of kindness is more precious than 100 years of austerities. You become a very kind and gentle soul because you are connecting to Rahmatul Lil Alameen. True self-compassion and mercy, selfless seeker, brothers and sisters. The false identity of oneself. When we're talking about example of a stream, think about the stream which is starting from the top of the Himalayan mountain ranges, which is filled with snow. Hima means snow. As it starts the downward journey from the tip, from the mountain, cliffs, it starts melting and slowly the water starts coming down the higher altitudes and you can feel the rumbling of the water, as it goes through the stone, you can hear the water rumbling, it's making noise. But then slowly when the small streams then becomes a tributary, few streams join together become a tributary and it goes into lesser slopes where it's not falling through a waterfall or something, it becomes a little quiet. Then the tributaries join together when it comes to the plains, plateau region and becomes a river. The river flows much more peacefully and lesser sound, brothers and sisters. Finally, when the river merges with the ocean, and at the center of the ocean, brothers and sisters, people who go on ships, they know the center of the ocean is calm normally. This is what happens to the human soul, brothers and sisters. When you are the stream coming from the top of the mountain, there's a lot of rumbling. This is the monkey mind at play. And that is where, I'm going to heaven and the egoistic I, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, or I'm a chosen person, those things happen there. The moment you merge with the Noor, what remains is, you are merging with Nabil Ummi. MashaAllah, you become silent too, brothers and sisters. So define the journey: body consciousness, ego disappears, brothers and sisters. Merge into individual consciousness. From there, merge into universal consciousness, into the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, into illallahu. Illallahu, this is the Zat, no attributes. We have 99 attributes which the Muslim Ummat of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has been blessed with. But these 99 attributes take you outside. Ya Qawi, Ya Aziz, Ya Jabbar is taking you outside. You start contemplating outside. The Zat is going inside, brothers and sisters. Okay. What is the nature of the ego? It is not aware of itself. This is the biggest problem, brothers and sisters. We need to go into deeper understanding so that we become aware of the ego when it rises up, so that we can control it. We can only control that that we understand. It is self-ignorant, and hence this is the Maya and illusion that we talked about. From the greatest sinner to the greatest saint, we are all undergoing our spiritual journeys, whether in the positive direction or the negative direction, opposite direction. Go within yourself, brothers and sisters, and investigate on your own self. Everyone's journey is going to be unique, and no one will complete this journey for you. You have to do it on your own. If ego comes into existence, everything else comes into existence. Because we have strong attachments and desires to the 5 elemental world of form, the 5 input senses, sense inputs, and what the world contains, we are not able to go within ourselves and stay within ourselves for longer duration. Oh, I cannot meditate for more than 3 or 4 minutes. Oh, really? Oh, because you are connected so much to the outside world, you can't even go within your own self. Nobody can help you on that. You yourself have to overcome that. At that point, when you go within yourself, you do the self-inquiry. That is, who am I? This little I. That little I will disappear. We'll talk about that in future slides. Surrender within ourselves, self-surrender to that point where the little I disappears, the egoistic I disappears, in the heart center, in the center of the heart. Man is in the pursuit of happiness. Every person in this world, brothers and sisters, he wants to make money, living, family, this and that. He's looking for happiness. You'll never find a human being on this earth, right, and say that, you know what, go and do a job from 9 to 5, when you come home, you're going to be miserable. No, he's not going to do it. Everybody wants to do it because he's looking for happiness. Illusion is happiness lies outside you. Definitely we want food, shelter, and everything so we can be comfortable. But then true everlasting happiness is not in possessions and in achievements. They are temporary. Body consciousness based on external conditions, relations, emotions, etc. will not give you permanent happiness, but few moments of temporary happiness. This is a very important statement, that unless there is a strong detachment, there is no unconditional love. Otherwise, it's a selfish love, and that's what I'm saying. It's not love at that point. It is just attachment, brothers and sisters. True love is about giving, not taking. It is about inhalation into the object of love. If I love Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Ahlul Bayt, Sahabis, I merge into them. Then there is no more me there. If I love Allah and Rasul, Nurun ala Nur, then I merge into the Nur. Then my existence is gone at that point. That is true love. We have very strong attachment to our tendencies because we find more fulfillment in attempting to these things other than our inner self, which means man arfa nafsuhu faqad arfa rabbuhu is not important for us. That is what Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, which is the path of God realization. The other things that we spend our entire lifetimes pursuing will be lost, will last only as long as the body lasts. When the body goes, all other things that we pursued throughout our lifetime will disappear in a moment. Hence the end of body consciousness. And this is the state. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said it in so many times in hadith. He said, your qabr calls you 20 times in a day. The Malikul Maut comes and gives you salam every time before the time of prayer. Then he said that, when a soul is being questioned, the soul will plead to Allah saying, Ya Allah, please send me back to the dunya. I will conform to all that you said. But Allah says, if I get to give you a chance, I have to give to every other soul, because Allah is most just. So, good luck at there. He's not going to give you a second chance, right? Again, this is justice of Allah. So Allah does whatever is just, and He loves me 70 times more than my own mother loves you. So it's under His discretion. It's not for me to comment on. Okay, but the point is that The only true gain is in this lifetime is what we spend in self-realization process and detachment of the world, brothers and sisters. So once we have done our duty, we have worked hard for a living, on the weekend or whenever we get time, few moments in our on our weekdays, spend time to go within yourself. Love for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, to attain the ziyarat of the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam within my own self, because that is the true source of love. The love Allah has for His Noor is the highest level of love. If we can attain even a billionth or trillionth part of that love, we are successful, brothers and sisters. All other form of love is temporary, depending upon external circumstances between human relations. I'm putting love and putting attachment in the parenthesis. Can only increase, relations between can increase, decrease, fade away depending upon relations. Husband wife get married, nikah happens, everybody's having walima. Divorce is not a good thing, right? People are shouting at each other, screaming at each other. So what happened to all the vows of marriage? So unless you love Allah and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, every other love can degenerate. But the moment you start loving Allah and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, then the love that you get for other creation of Allah is a true love, because then that is a service oriented love. That is a love of duty without attachment. We're full of compassion and mercy. You're not taking anything, you're not expecting anything, you're giving. That's the beauty, brothers and sisters. You become loving to all other creations of Allah, because the love you have to gain is not the love from the dunya. You have to gain the true love from Allah and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam first. And this is where people are going wrong. They start loving, my brother, my sister, my mother, this and that. No. The moment you start loving Allah and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam the most, automatically the love then what generates within you for your fellow human beings, your family, is true love. Because that love, you become the giver. You are not expecting anything, brothers and sisters. Expectation causes disappointment, brothers and sisters. And then life becomes very peaceful. You raise your hand, your duas are accepted. Because you are not asking anything for yourself. You're asking for the world. For you don't need chicken biryani, mutton biryani, halim and palau and all that. Two rotis and dal is good enough for you. You know why? Because Maula Hassan and Hussein did not have it. Maula Ali did not have it. Ummah Fatima to Zahra, the leader of the woman of paradise, she did not have it. Brothers and sisters, Ummah Khadijatul Kubra did not have it. She died of malnutrition, brothers and sisters. Have true love for them. You'll automatically love your wife and children after that. But that's, again, I said, that's not going to be the selfish love, self-centered love. True love is not an emotion, brothers and sisters. This is a thing that Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, I wanted to say that, when he became the Khalif, the Amirul Mu'mineen, one day he appointed a governor to a certain region, and it was his his habit to walk with the governors and leave them at the outskirts of Medina Munawwara. So here is Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu. He always had clothes which were patches, and he's walking with this governor. Governor has got his camel fully laden, and is going to the place of appointment. Big great guy. Now as he's going, before they reach the outskirts, they're going through a small village, at the border of Medina Munawwara. All the children, little children, they see Umar bin Khattab. Think about it, brothers and sisters. This is the Umar that the world used to fear before he accepted Islam. They see Umar bin Khattab, they start jumping on him. They were playing in mud. They were playing there, children. They start jumping on him. And in no time, his entire gown becomes filled with mud. And this governor whom Umar bin Khattab had appointed few hours before, he's seeing this thing and said, "Oh, how can you make this children from the street jump on you?" They loved Umar bin Khattab. They're climbing on him, hugging him, kissing him. This is what the love of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam does, brothers. They changed Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu. They can't change you and me. It will. We have to have the true love for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So long story short, this governor sees that and he complains to Umar bin Khattab. He said, I never let my children jump on me. Look, your clothes have become dirty. Look at my clothes, it's all spot clean. Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu immediately stops going forward. He said, can you come back to Madinah Munawara? And this guy, the governor is all perplexed, so-called governor. He said, what happened? No, I need to cancel your order. I chose the wrong person as the governor. A person who does not have love for young children. How can he have love for a region? How can he do justice for a region? Think about how these golden Sahabis taught. This is the direct byproduct of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's teaching. Compassion and mercy, brothers and sisters. Umar bin Khattab dismissed that guy even before he reached the place where he was supposed to go and get appointment. All right. So brothers and sisters, we need to start turning inwards into meditation so we can see the noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and then we become compassionate human beings, brothers and sisters. It's a beautiful picture I put in. I always look at it, and it really, tames me down. It's just sharing this thing. The ego-oriented self. Here's the small, kitten looking at its own picture. Thinks it's a lion. This is what Firaun did. He said, "Ana Rabbukumul Ala." I am, the Rabb who's the great, right? With the five senses turned outward. May Allah protect me from, from this particular, self-reflection. Inshallah. Okay, let's keep going. Again, ego is a thought from the I-ness that we feel we are, which is not the reality, brothers and sisters. The reality is that we are the soul, the light which came from the noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So ego itself, again, what we are saying is when we really look at ego, it is a thought. What in reality exists is pure awareness, which is the pure consciousness without body consciousness, which is connected to the noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Not only the objects around us, but also the subject. This is where we are going deeper now, where even the subject who's investigating. We talked about the five sheath, the physical body, the life energy, the mental sheath, the intellect, and then we finally said the causal body. We know that each of these five were not me. But then here we are saying the subject investigating the small I, right, is also a thought. And a thought is also an object, brothers and sisters. Even the subject has to disappear. Why? Because in sleep, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said sleep is the little sister of death. Brothers and sisters, in sleep, when the five senses are shut down, the ego disappears. And the world as we know also disappears. And the I also disappears, the little I also disappears. Only when you get up from the sleep and then you stretch yourself, then you look at the world of the form and suddenly the little I springs into action. But when you ask somebody who got up from the sleep, oh, how was your sleep? Oh, I had a very good sleep. Now, who is that I who said I had a very good sleep? It is not the body conscious I, because body conscious I was not existing because it's connected to the body, and I was not aware of my body when I was sleeping. When you sleep for 8 hours, you get up in the morning, you don't say, oh, I slept for 8 hours. You think, oh, I just slept for a few hours, maybe 2 or 3 hours, because even you lose the sense of time. So that I, which even exists in the sleep state, is the consciousness, brothers and sisters. The real awareness, I, is aware of itself. It is also aware of the world around. For the ego, which is every thought, mind, world, for the ego, the small I, thought, mind, world, God, everything is separate from itself. And hence it's in the state of duality. We define the problem here. We say that the real awareness for a normal person is the real awareness, which we are not completely aware of, but also the ego with the body consciousness. So what are we saying here? This is a meditation technique, brothers and sisters, investigating the source of the I. So when I go into my own meditation, I close my eyes. I close my eyes and I have anger, right? I just got pissed off on my wife. Close my eyes, start breathing. I put a video, self, trained video for meditation. You can try that. A lot of people got benefit out of it. It's on the same YouTube channel. It's guided meditation. But then in the guided meditation, after you're done, you become peaceful. Then you go and ask, who is this I who just got angry? Go back to the source of that I and concentrate on your third eye, on and the top of your, of the crown of your head, in between the third and the crown of the head, and suddenly that eye disappears. Brothers and sisters, this is a meditation technique. You have to do it. I cannot do it for you. And what happens if you keep doing that over and over and again, when emotions try to control you, you go back, close your eyes, go within you. This is a constant exercise. You get better as you do it. Somebody wants to run a marathon and he can hardly run, marathon is I think 36 kilometers. I can hardly run 500 meters. Then what? You do it every day. 500 meters, 600 meters, 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile. Finally one day you can run 26 miles. Same way is this, brothers and sisters. Okay, so you go back into meditation, you go back and say, what is the source of this I who got angry? Go within yourself. Keep on asking this question. The thought will come back and say this and that, body consciousness. It says when you turn your attention back onto yourself, the ego disappears. You try to seek it, it takes flight. What remains is the true consciousness, which is the connected to the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This is what we talked about in the causal body, we said on the slide before on the 5 sheet. Shaitan had this problem, brothers and sisters. Learn from him, brothers and sisters. Allah gave him an opportunity to merge with the Noor, eliminate the duality. He did not, and he suffers even today. Our suffering is due to the unwillingness to turn our will. Will is an attention. This is the most important gift from Allah. We can turn our attention back to ourselves, within ourselves. Learn from good qualities or mistakes, even if it is from Shaitan. Okay. The thought called I, which is the thinker of all the other thoughts. So when one goes back to the root and find out where this body consciousness related to the thought I has originated from, you can go into meditation and say, okay, I am the body. Okay, where is this I coming from? Go back into your own self, concentrate, at the third eye, in between your eyebrows, and you keep doing that. Every time your thought goes outside, oh, I'm hungry, or my son is screaming, go back, take it back. Where is the source of this I? Where is the source of this? Keep on asking yourself. And one day, Allah, He loves me 70 times, you 70 times more than your own mother and my own mother loves me. So on one day, He will open up that particular realm for you, brothers and sisters. The ego will melt on that day. The body conscious will melt on that day. This is powerful Sufi techniques, brothers and sisters. It will melt and disappear, and what will remain is pure awareness, and that is your individual consciousness, whose parent is the Noor Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which is the universal consciousness, from which 18,000 universes came into being. The entire materialistic universe is nothing. We take a big deal about it. No, it's nothing. In the front of the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, it's nothing. Therefore, the mind is nothing but it's just the subject thought of I. Brothers and sisters, we make a big deal about our body consciousness. One cannot stop thought, because thought of stopping thought process itself is another thought. I think we talked about it before. So one can only conclude that there is no thought. This is very important. Another technique is being discussed here. There is no thought but thinking. You cannot say, you know what, I'm going to stop thought. No, there is no thought. Thoughts will keep on coming. But what is there is the process of thinking is there, which is a constant process. And we are going to relate that to the sense of time. We are going to say that past, present, and future are all memory related. I went for Umrah when I was 5 years old with my parents and my grandparents. It is a past memory. So by stopping the perception of the flow of time, we can suspend thought. Not suspending thought directly, brothers and sisters. By stopping this is very important. You need to understand this thing. It's a very powerful technique. I use this in my meditation. By stopping the perception of flow of time, we can suspend the thought process, because thinking itself is just movement of time. Okay, so what is constant here? The mind needs something which is constant so it can stop. We need to find. You cannot go behind thought, because thought is changing. Time itself is changing, past, present, future, past, present, future. So you cannot catch hold of You cannot ask the mind to catch hold of something which is moving constantly and say, now be constant. No, it won't do it. It can't. It will go for a spin. There's a technique. We can discuss this right now. Present becomes past and future becomes present. This is how the normal time is going, brothers and sisters. But what is constant in between this is the movement of now. The present moment, now, where the past meets the present, we stop there. We don't go into the future there. Because when we say, I am in the now, that now is the constant, brothers and sisters. You have given something a constant for your mind to hold on to. So when you say the mind says future, you said, no, I'm in the now, in the present. Being in the presence gives you the mind something to hold on to. When you hold on to that thought of now, which is not moving, not becoming the future, but now, just stop there. You have to train yourself to do that. I'll go to the next slide, brothers and sisters. Tapping into pure awareness. Now the present moment is the only constant. In your meditation, you tap onto the now. Past becomes present and stops at now. It's now, now, now. Even after 5 years, it's still the now. Okay. Once one realizes and touches that dimension, you have to train yourself for that. You touch timelessness because now there is no more movement of time. At that point, you're literally, if you go back and see what happened, you stop thought at that time. So you are trying to stop. We are not stopping. We are trying to suspend thinking by stopping time. But if you say to your mind, I am going to stop thinking, it's not going to happen. Okay, so this is a meditation technique, and this is what I've given it to you, brothers and sisters. Please go through this in deep, and you have to try it yourself. I can only give it to you. I do it all the time. It helps. It works. Now you go within yourself and investigate the I am the consciousness. I am the pure consciousness. Automatically, because what happens when you go into the meditation where the now becomes the constant, automatically the body consciousness stops there. Thought process starts, body consciousness stops right there. And then when you go back and say, who is this I, you'll tears of compassion and love, because you will hear Allah saying, son, that is I am, that is the I within you is me. You will hear your soul, brothers and sisters. I'm telling you this thing, brothers, from my personal experience. And you touch that realm within yourself, brothers and sisters, believe me, you will change from that moment. It's not going to be the same person that you are so far, if you're not touched it, before listening to this presentation. When the mind comes back, I'm just discussing the technique here, but I hope you understand. When the mind comes back with the object related thought, force the mind to ask the question, what is the source that I'm connected to? The lowercase I, again, remember that lowercase I is the ego. And one will see the ego form attached will melt away, and the still awareness will remain, which is the uppercase I, pure awareness. When you go into that deeper, these are deeper levels of meditation, you will keep going, you will see the noor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam brighter than the 100 million stars put together, brothers and sisters. You fall in sujood at that time. Ya Allah. You fall in sujood at that time. This is the sujood Shaitan didn't want to do. Brothers and sisters, this is the sujood that Allah wants you to do in every of your prayer. And that prayer is the true prayer, khushu and kuzu, complete concentration at the feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is the sujood, with complete awareness of the azmat of Allah. You kiss the feet, holy feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Jibreel alayhi salatu wasallam used to kiss the holy feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We covered that in the Miraj presentation, brothers and sisters. And that becomes your Miraj in your namaz, in your salah, in your sujood, brothers and sisters. And that is where we say the I minus the I, the egoistic I. What remains is the reality of my own being, which is my existence. This is the reality, brothers and sisters, will not end when the body dies, because I am aware of who is giving gisal to my dead body when I die, who is going digging my grave, who's putting me in my grave, who's throwing mud on my body. That I is the consciousness which is aware of the body giving the ghusl, who is praying your janaza, who is crying, who is running away, who is not coming for your janazah is aware of all those things, brothers and sisters. Okay. Again, just continuing this thing towards the end of this particular section. If the I am identifies with the lowercase I as Amir. I'm the 5 feet 10 inches tall, 200-pound guy, white guy, brown, black. I'm rich, successful, power, wealth, fame. Then we are like Yazid bin Muawiyah. That is the awareness coming from connecting to the form. Hence, the ego is the ruler. And if it's not controlled, it will take us to the deepest recesses of hell, which we know that. When the I arises, source from the true self, the light of my soul, which came from the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, I have come. What is the state of your mind at that time? The mind is already subdued, but what is the state? It is that I have come to this world to do my duty towards my Lord, earn His pleasure, doing what He commands, and inhalate into illalahu. Such an individual follows the footsteps of Mullah Hassan, Mullah Hussein, who sacrifice everything for their beloved grandfather. They are the Sayyid Shabab Al Jannah. They are the leaders of the paradise. There are some idiots don't understand the 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 uh, the lofty status of Maula Hassan and Hussein. We all know that they are the leaders of the youth of paradise. Brothers and sisters, there was an old woman who came to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and asked, Ya Rasulullah, will I go to Jannah? And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, no, you will not, not in this state. And she cried. Said, why? She said, and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam smiled and said, old woman don't go to Jannah. And he was just having a good time with her. And she said, mother, every person is at the middle age around 33 years old when they go into Jannah. And we all know Mullah Hassan and Hussein are the leaders of Jannah. Who are in Jannah? The prophets of Allah are in Jannah, the messengers of Allah, the kutubs of Allah, the walis of Allah, the Mominat, everybody's in Jannah. Musa alayhi salatu wasalam in Jannah, Isa alayhi salatu wasalam in Jannah, Mala, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam in Jannah, Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam, Ishaq alayhi salatu wasalam, Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam, Yunus alayhi wasalam, everybody's in Jannah. And who is their leader, brothers and sisters? Who is their leader? The leader of them is Maula Hassan and Hussein. And the 9th and 10th of Karbala happens. Our Sunni masajid is talking about what? About Ashura. The day when Bani Israel got Najat from Firaun. I am not saying don't talk about it. Why can't you say, if you add some more lines about Karbala, why it's not important to talk about what happened to the leaders of Jannah? How are you going to get there if the leaders won't allow you to go into the Jannah? This is the hollow faith these people have, brothers and sisters. Don't follow them. I hope you are more intelligent than following some idiots, brothers and sisters. Allah does not love, the love of Allah for us, He does not love us as separate entities, brothers and sisters. He says, I love you 70 times more than your own mother loves me. My mother, she is with me right now as I'm recording this, presentation. She carried me 9 months, 10 days in her womb. And Allah says, I love you 70 times more. So Allah loves me not separate like the mother loves the child. She loves her part of her body, but her own self. Allah loves me as part of His own self, brothers and sisters. And He loves His Noor, which is giving salawat 7 by 24, eternity. It's happening all the time. And we don't have time to go within our own self, to decipher our own self, to go and see the Noor of Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu rasuluhu sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And we are running around behind this world, and we have this egoistic I saying Ashhadu, I did Ashhadu. What the hell is that Ashhadu? Whom am I trying to fool? Whom I am trying to fool? Let's not try and fool ourselves. Don't be shaitan. Learn from that fellow. He already gave you a good example. Inna shaitanu aduun mubin. Don't follow him. Allah is most just. So he's going to do exactly the same that he did to Shaitan. He's not going to give you preference. So brothers and sisters, the entire Quran can be summarized in one attribute of Allah. This is one of the Mashaykh told me this thing. He said, Ya Adil. So we fear that state of Allah, Don't go back to Allah before you see the nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam within you. Or at least this is the journey this is the real mission of Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat. He came with this particular ilm. He gave it to the world and he left, brothers and sisters. Allah spoke to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam in Mount Sinai. He said, I am who I am. I am who I am. You have to go and investigate who am I. Duty without attachment, brothers and sisters. I wanted to put this slide together. The kutubs of Allah who have inherited, who have prayed every prayer of them, every moment of their life, seeing the nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. What happens to the kutub? Look at what how they performed in their lifetime, brothers and sisters. The Kutub Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat, his lifespan was 160 years. The body lifespan, okay? I'm always saying body lifespan. He's eternal. Passed away in 1986. In 1940s, he was going through in the village in Sri Lanka, in a place close to Kandy. And this was a very, in the 1940s, it was completely village, no big roads like today. I've been to Sri Lanka, and witnessing, and he saw a young widow. He was passing by, it was Maghrib time, close to Maghrib time. He passed a hut, and there was a young widow with two small children in the hut, and they were hungry and they were crying, brothers and sisters. The Kutub, is pure past 100 years of his own age, brothers and sisters, and he saw the children crying and the mother has no food to eat. And the Kutub investigated. He said, inquired, what happened? So I have nothing to eat. I cannot leave the children and go to work. So Kutub said, okay, let me come back. Brothers and sisters, I want to share this story with you. Just to tell you that, even to me, myself, that how the nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam transforms people. I want to say something before I go into this, to this incident of the Kutub. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was asked by Allah that when he saw the poverty, Allah saw the poverty of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He said, can he transform the mountain of Uhud into gold, which will accompany Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to every place and he can, distribute the wealth? Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, no, Ya Allah, give me food one day and keep me hungry the next day. The day I get food, I will do shukr of you. The day I'm hungry, then I will be sabur. This is what our Prophet, Ana Fakru Fakri, this is the Fakir, greatest Fakir who walked on this universe, who wanted from Allah when he was given a choice of the wealth of this world. Similarly, the point is that similarly, the Kutub, when he was confronted by the situation where this poor mother has no food to eat, she cannot go for work, but the children are too young to go. Husband has passed away. She's a widow. She has nobody to look after her. Kutub could have prayed to Allah right there, brothers and sisters. The earth would have opened up and given the whole gold and whatever is needed for the Kutub. Not for himself, but to give it to the mother. No, here's what the Kutub does, brothers and sisters. He walks a few distance and he finds, a big house of a big landlord close to the area. And the landlord is standing right outside the house and he's looking for somebody. So Kutub inquired what happened. The landlord said that my septic tank, the tank where all the, they have septic tank where all the excreta and the urine from the restrooms or the lavatories go, is overflowing. My septic tank is overflowing with excreta and urine. Somebody has to clean it. Brothers and sisters, my Kutub, Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat volunteered. And he, with his blessed hands, cleaned the septic tank. Excreta was flowing from through his face when he was carrying this in patched coconut containers, brothers and sisters, because they were not solid containers. The excreta was flowing through and it was passing through his blessed face. He finished his entire work, cleaned the septic tank. He got some money. The landlord was happy because he did a great job. cleaning human excreta and filth. With that, the Qutub went back to a shop, got food, rice, everything, carried it back to the mother, cooked food, ate a meal with her, and left. Brothers and sisters, how can you not bow in front of such a great personality? These are my role models, brothers and sisters, even if though I'm nowhere close to them, but at least I say to my own monkey mind, damn it, keep them as your role models. You'll be grounded. Don't let your ego rise. The great human qualities of the Kutub reflect the attributes of Ar-Rahman, brothers and sisters. The Kutub is Fana in Allah and Rasul. The appointment of the Kutub is made by Allah, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Maula Ali and Gausul Azam Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu anhu, brothers and sisters. The Sheikh under whose holy feet I try to surrender my ego, brothers and sisters. A sinner like me, please pray by that my ego melts, keep melting every passing day, brothers and sisters. Myself, the lower I, existence is not worth the dust that touches the Kutub's feet, brothers. When I think about my own spiritual journey, this understanding which I have reached up to, that I am not worth the dust that touches the Kutub's feet, I thank Allah from the bottom of my heart for giving me that realization. This is what I have earned so far in my life. The 11th Kutub is called Ya Fakir Muhyiddin Mujahidatullah Ilumail. Why do you think Allah and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Maula Ali and Gausul Azam called Baba Muhyiddin Ya Fakir? Let's get into meditation, brothers and sisters. There's a few more slides remaining. I covered like 60% of it, another few of them. I'll try and keep it fast. Meditation, brothers and sisters, is just some, things to reflect. The fool will never find freedom by practicing concentration, but the master never fails to find freedom, because just by knowing how things are, let it be, let it go, he's free and constant, brothers and sisters. Something to reflect for me and you, because the fool wants to be God. Ana rabbukum al-ala, Firaun wanted that. He will never find him God. The master is already God. The Kutub is already the God without ever wishing to be. And he is the most humble, brothers and sisters. When the qualities, when the Noor of Allah and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you start seeing it and your soul starts mingling with that, ego doesn't stay there, brothers and sisters. We'll cover that in future slides. Meditation of Muraqabah, which is the inward journey. Tafakkur, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said it is better than 1,000 years of ibadat, because that ibadat could be just a ritual and you're doing a drama, you're doing a exercise at that point. There may be no inner dimension there. Where is the heart in the prayer, brothers? Not where is your hand in your prayer. It's a joke. Initially turn inwards and connect to the Noor at the Arsh and the Kursi. And Fana, total absorptions in the Noor, the light of Rahma. After years of practice, one neither goes into meditation or out of meditation, but always in a meditative state, brothers and sisters. Because initially, when you start the meditation, you sit for meditation. But after some time, what you find is that, as you go deeper and deeper, then the time for meditation increases. Your state of your mind and being, actually not just mind but the being, is also in a meditative state all the time. Somebody comes to you, starts yelling at you, and you have nothing, you're just sitting there watching the fun. Alhamdulillah. It becomes that, because the meditative state starts overpowering your other time when you are not meditating. And finally what happens, that state remains all through, brothers and sisters. That is when you are in true meditation, because if you are going in and out of meditation, you still need to go in and out, so you're not in a meditative state all the time. So what we have to achieve is a meditative state all the time, not going in and out of meditation. Oh, I meditated for 40 minutes today. No, that is not meditation. Initial state, one feels tranquil and peaceful, but one comes in and out of meditation. Proceed further to acquire a meditative state. That is what we said right now. No one cannot be thoughtless, because trying to become thoughtless is another thought. We said that so many times. So there is no state such as thoughtlessness. Okay, so ashadu, witnessing the noor without judgment and conclusion, is the true state. That is the Shahada Kalima. Once finally, when one person reaches and sees the noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the noor of Allah, brothers and sisters, there is no more talk. Silence prevails, because you are close to the Nabil Ummi. The state cannot be created or induced, because anything created is superficial and cannot sustain. So for some, when it touches, it is tears of joy and ecstasy. But people, the saliks who touch that state, and that becomes the greatest treasure of their life till that moment, brothers and sisters. And then after that, once you touch it one time, brothers and sisters, believe me, the whole world will look like a garbage can for you, and you'll always try the best to go back to that state. So ask Allah, if you have not touched that state, at least to give you that opportunity to touch the noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam even one time. Because once you touch it one time, brothers and sisters, your entire desire, attachments to this five sense world is gone. Qutb said the highest form of worship. He defined the highest form of worship. Worship as if you are within Allah and Allah's presence is deep within you. That is noor within, you are within the noor of Allah and Allah's noor is within you. Since Allah and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam are inseparable, brothers and sisters, both present at the same time within oneself, then when the body consciousness ceases to exist. Okay, and that is your kalima, because the kalima is ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna muhammadan abduhu rasuluh. These two, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah and ashhadu anna muhammadan abduhu rasuluh, cannot be separated, brothers and sisters. Okay, one's task is to witness only and not to be this and that in the spiritual. I don't want to be, oh, I'm this great spiritual master giving this great presentation and talk. No, 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 brothers and sisters. I would be a fool if I think like that, because I will lose everything in a moment if I have that thought. This can be achieved by first going into the I, the lowercase I, the first person within oneself, asking the question, who am I? What is the source of this I? When you go into meditation, this I will disappear. Initially, the body conscious will spring up and identify oneself with the body, but slowly and calmly keep asking oneself, what is the source of this I? What is the source who wants to eat biryani? Who wants not to fast every Mondays and Thursdays? What is the source of that I? You go eternally, keep questioning yourself. Man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has already hinted that the person who knows his own nafs, his own self, that's I, he will know Allah. So that is the hint right there. Go and question, who is that I? It is the eternal self within oneself. Turn inward, which is the nur and this pure consciousness. This pure consciousness I is the subject. Even the mind, thoughts, emotions, drama, material belongings, family, immobile assets, richness, ornament, status in society, all are objects. All these objects have to be discarded, and this will get discarded, brothers and sisters, provided you spend more and more time within your own self. The importance of all these drama things, the elemental energy things, objects will go away. Unless one touches the infinity within one's own self, one cannot see the nur within oneself. All sins are born out of body consciousness, brothers and sisters. This is a true statement. Habil killed Kabil because Habil wanted to marry the daughter which was born with himself. Awwa and Adam alayhi salatu wasalam had used to have twins, one boy, one girl, one boy, one girl, born together. And Habil had a sister born with him. Kabil had a girl born with him. And Allah asked them to arrange marriage, like Habil should marry Kabil's the girl born with Kabil, and Kabil should marry the girl born with Habil. But what happened? The girl born with Habil was more beautiful than the girl born with Kabil. So Habil told his father, no, no, I am not going to get married to the girl born with Kabil, even that was the hukum of Allah. He said, I want to marry the girl who was born with me. So Adam alayhi said, no, the girl born with you is your sister. That is Allah, that was the Sharia at that time. He didn't want to listen. So he went and killed Kabil. Body consciousness, brothers and sisters. This is what the body consciousness did. The first murder was created because of body consciousness. Shaitan knows that very well. You follow this path of dismantling your body consciousness. After some time, Shaitan will leave you alone. You try any other path, he will be behind your heels, brothers and sisters. The breath is the connection between the soul and the inner body. When one gives attention to the breathing, then automatically we move closer to the inner being in the state, and one sees the events outside as just images in a theater. You are untouched by what's going around you. You are looking at the world as watching a fish swim in an aquarium or in a tank. Not affected by it, brothers and sisters. You are part of it, but as a shadow to this world. You will do whatever duty is needed, like the Qutub did the duty that we talked about, carrying excreta on the head. He could have raised his hand up and Allah would have given gold coins from the earth. No, because he knows he has to do the duty to please his Rabb, to please Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So he carried human excreta with the excreta flowing from his blessed face of the Qutub. He taught us the path, brothers and sisters. I don't know how many sheikhs of today will do that, cleaning excreta. That's the reason Qutub Muhyiddin Hazrat is a Qutub, brothers and sisters, not just a sheikh of a tariqat. True meditation begins with what we think and how we act. It's not just sitting in 40 minutes and doing meditation. It should affect your life outside of meditation. And this is what we're talking here, brothers and sisters. Maula Ali had a servant girl. One day some guests came to Maula Ali's house, and the servant girl, when she was serving them food, she suddenly stumbled and was about to fall. She somehow gained her balance back. Maula Ali told the girl in a beautiful, loving way, he said, daughter, you should watch your eyes in your prayer. Think about it, how Maula Ali thought. You should watch your eyes in your prayer. Your eyes are looking here and there. That's the reason when you are trying to do the duty of your outside world, you're not able to concentrate. So your state in your prayer, in your meditation, decides your state outside, brothers and sisters. So if shaitan is overpowering, the five elemental energies is making me run, behind the world, then you can understand what the problem is. My prayer is also not in the right place, brothers and sisters. What prayer can I take back to Allah on the day of judgment that I prayed 5 times? When the supermarket and all the thoughts of the dunya is bombarding my mind. The thought of Alul Bayt and of the ayats of the Quran, that should be reflecting within us. Some guidelines, brothers and sisters, unselfishness, very important. Larger than life goal is very important. Drive to know the reality of one's own self, Allah and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We talked about it. Very important. Next one, intense love for Allah and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This is the bedrock, brothers and sisters. Should replace the love for the dunya. Object-oriented love, ego rising as a result of that. Meditation, muraqabah, prayers, fasting, pilgrimage, charity. It should be a way of life. Piety and pure way of life. That should be our life. I cannot be, Zubillah, praying 5 times and then going cheating people. Doesn't happen like that. Self-inquiry, who am I? This is reality orientation. Again, this is something food for thought. There was never a time when I did not exist. The bigger I, brothers and sisters, past. It's not that you were born on the day you birthday. People celebrate birthday. What birthday you're talking about? You existed before you came into your mother's womb, okay, and came out of your mother's womb. You are going to exist after your body is thrown into the grave and your mud is put on. Your relatives will throw mud on your bloody body. You're still going to exist after that. So to come out of that situation of body consciousness. I was born on this day. I don't believe in this birthday. I do recite Maulud on the day of the birth of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but that is because of joy. Because if the Prophet had not come in the body form on that particular day, Amina had not given birth, I'd be worshipping idols. How would be I connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at a much higher state? That is because of the guidance that came on that day. Not because birthday, happy birthday to you. No. You don't do that. Maulud is reciting the praises of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Amina and the family of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay. People think, oh, there are fatwas, the fatwas. They say don't celebrate birthdays. And they equate the birthday of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with their happy birthday and blowing candles. It's a joke. This is what the deen has come to. And they say because of that, don't celebrate Maulud. Another joke. So brothers and sisters, death is an abrupt ending of body consciousness. That's all it is. One witnesses the people giving the ghusl of the body, the burial, and etc., which proves that we have consciousness which is separate than from the body. Hurdles in meditation and how to overcome this thing.
To go within oneself and stay in meditative state, one needs to love what one is doing, brothers and sisters. To do anything, brothers and sisters, for long hours, right? Even if it's a job, unless because if you hate it, then it becomes a burden. Especially meditation and all, you have to start loving it, because you have to get the right ilm frame of mind. Then you go into that. You sit hours together in meditation. Else, you will not be able to sit quiet even for 5 minutes, and you will fail. Practices, you need two practices needed, two of them most important: love and detachment, of zuhud of the world, eternal love everlasting for Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Again, brothers and sisters, because both can be achieved only by ilm. You need to know the sacrifices of Ummah Khadija, of Ummah Amina, of Abba Abdullah. You need to know their lives very closely. You need to know the life of Maula Ali closely. I put Man Kuntum Maula, go listen to that. Generate the love. Maula Hassan's life, Maula Hussein's life. You need to know them, how they sacrifice for their beloved grandfather. Then it will totally start, then you understand what they have sacrificed for. If there was no Karbala, there would be no prayer. You and I will not be praying right now. The Bani Umayyads would have changed even that. To experience Miraj within us, we need to connect to the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam within us, and we experience the bliss, the love, and the zuhd. Need to do the self-inquiry and surrender. Especially when you start doing self-inquiry, you go and surrender at that point. Automatically, it is a self-charging battery, brothers and sisters. And then what happens? The connection to the world automatically goes away. Your desires and your attachments, your love and your hate, all those things start, because now you go deep in yourself. And one day, when that dimension, when Allah decides, I cannot decide, nobody can decide, Allah decides, okay, you are ready to, now you have sacrificed enough, you have pleaded enough at the door of mercy, I will let you see the Noor of my Habib. And he opens up the day. Brothers and sisters, that's the most blessed day of your life, of your soul, not this body life, brothers and sisters. Fall in sujood on that day, brothers and sisters, and thank Allah for giving you a body. And we will cover that, in future slides. So one will exist as a stranger to the world and will be the witness to the activities around the world, but not join the drama. Just be a witness. Allah will make the Salik do what is destined for a successful life and return back to him. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun. And not a life of attachment, hatred, likes and dislikes, meaningless pursuits, and finally on day of judgment, where this person will be called for account. Ba'umuddin Hazrat said, this is marked in green, a true seeker of this path of ilm of kutubiyat will only need to give the hisab of the day he dies, because the day before, till that day, all hisab has been complete. Allah, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the kutubs will complete all hisab. Only on the day of the dies, when you die, that hisab will be asked from you, brothers and sisters. This is the blessed path. Let me continue. This is a small thing, I just put together. It's not much deep. We just defined death. People have a big, I have seen Malikul Maut myself. When I was in 2012, I was in ICU. I have seen it. So he's so beautiful he was. So it's a good experience I had in my life. Near death situation. Most blessed experience. When I came out of the hospital after 25 days, I was a changed man. I thank Allah that Allah made me go through that before I truly die. So let's define what is death. Look at what is death. First I gave, this is just a saying, first I gave up action, then idle words, and lastly thoughts itself, and now I am here. This is, we're talking about not the physical death, but this is the death of the ego, brothers and sisters. Okay, let's go in and see this topic, the fear of death. Let's talk about the fear. This is, we're talking about the physical death here. Okay, fear of the unknown. Why the fear of death so much? Fear of the unknown, because we are stuck to body consciousness. Fear of the end of the known form of existence, brothers and sisters. That is the fear of death. Because a person who is stuck to body consciousness, oh, my heart is having, block. Oh, come on, you're going to die one day. What's the big deal? You're going to have some reason to die. Umar bin Khattab died because of some reason, because he was stabbed. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the poison which the a woman who gave, the meat, right? That came as the reason for that, right? Everybody dies because of a reason. But why the fear? The fear is because that is the only form of existence I'm connected to. The body consciousness is so powerful and overwhelming. Oh, I'm going to die. Nobody will think, oh, you know what, my soul is just getting disconnected from the body. What's the big deal? So why? Because the fear of losing the awareness of I am. The I is the lowercase I here, because that I is connected to the body. Hence, the death is very fearful thought for many. But what is really death? A transition from one dimension to another, not the end. Jannat, huris, fried fish, palaces becomes the extensions of body consciousness, brothers and sisters. For a true salik, the lover of Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if I become the dust that touches the Mawla Ali's feet, Mawla Hassan's feet, Mawla Hussein's feet, I'm happy with that existence. Just touch the feet of Mawla Hassan Hussein. That's good enough for me. I don't need the huris of Jannah and the fried fish and the palaces. Don't need all that. Let me be a dust in Jannah, and let Mawla Hussein walk on that. It's good enough for me. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's heart was not influenced even an atom's worth. When he went for Miraj, he was shown first heaven, second heaven, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. He was not. His heart was not influenced, and that's the reason he completed the Miraj. Ultimately, he's the Noor of Allah, so he is the only being who can complete the Miraj. No other prophet can complete. But the point is that when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was shown the greatness and the material things of the Jannah, his heart was not nowhere mesmerized by that. And I say that please go through the presentation of Miraj, and you'll get more information. So what he's saying, the La ilaha is the form, which is the dunya and the Jannat, both are the same. Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat, the Qutub said, do not work for wages to get into heaven. Oh, I recite Subhanallah one time and Allah will plant a tree, where the horse will ride for 500 years. Don't do that. Recite Subhanallah for the glory of Subhanallah, mashallah, for what it is. Not work for wages to get into heaven and say, I recited 1,000 times Subhanallah, so I just planted 1,000 trees, in Auzubillah. There are some clowns who, in this sects of Islam who do that, who propagate that, Fazail, they call it Fazail. You will be disappointed. The Qutub said, one of the persons, he came to Qutub Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat when he was in Philadelphia, and he said, if I become a shaheed in Allah's path, will I get 70 huris? It is good he went and asked, at least, Alhamdulillah, thanks for that person. I don't have to laugh at him. But the Qutub said, yes, absolutely. If my Rabb has promised you 70 huris, he will give you 70 huris. But the Qutub looked inside him, and what he was looking for was, intercourse, sexual intercourse. So he said, but for you, Allah will make all the 70 huris, the beautiful women, your sisters in Jannah, brothers and sisters. The Qutub finally said that, for most of the men, they're stuck in the world, and their focus is going in and out of their birth canal. Brothers and sisters, we come out of the birth canal of our mothers, and then we keep going back and forth. That's where we want to go back and forth to our partners, to our wives. Again, it's not belittling the process. It is I'm completing that. Okay, it's not. Please don't misunderstand. And then eating and drinking. The point what Qutub says is that the focus is below the navel. The third eye is between the eyebrows is where the Noor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam exists. You have to conquer all these energy centers in between, and people are stuck below the navel. The bottom two openings of the penis and the anus is the most active. What do I going to eat today? Then after that it has to go out as urine and this, and then sexual pressure and all that. That's all. It's most active. There are other energy centers, the crown of the head and all that. Nobody even focuses on that. No one want to reach there. Again, I'm saying the statement marriage is sacred. Even physical union between husband and wife is sacred. It's trust, love, and care. That should be the core, not lust. Most of the men of today, I have know so many people who call me and they say, my husband, he wants to have, sex all the time. And what is one of the reasons? Because this fellow goes to watches pornography, and he thinks that is what should be happening with his wife. The poor wife has got children to take care. She has to cook. She goes for work. Connecting between husband and wife, it definitely, it is for love, sharing with each other. The union gives birth to children. MashaAllah. This is a blessing from Allah. But don't look at your wife as an object of pleasure. Don't do that. That's what the Qutub said, and that is what the poor women of today are, have to deal with. And then we have other women, unfortunately, who are walking around half naked anyway, showing off their bodies. So what can these poor husbands do anyway? So brothers and sisters, the point is that start going inside with your own self. All this external, five senses and everything will disappear. Love your wife. There was a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when a sahabi went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asked, Ya Rasulullah, what is my connection with Allah at this moment? A very beautiful question. What is my connection with Allah at this moment? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he said that same connection has as much as you have with your wife. The same amount of love that you have with your wife is the connection you have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So beautiful. So love for your wife is extremely important because that defines the love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, brothers and sisters. Okay, so please don't get me wrong that I'm saying that going in and out of the birth canal. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about lust, right? True love, true marriage, physical union between husband and wife happens, but that is pure, sharing of love, caring, and all that. It's not lust. I hope I don't, make people misunderstand here what the kutub meant by. Okay, let me keep going. But if I look at myself as the 200-pound body, and that is what my limited existence, that I'm born on this day, on the birthday, and I'll light candles on the day, and I die on such day, I will never be able to touch the infinity within myself. The formless state, which is infinite, and the form state, which is finite and limited, which is going to die one day and going to hit the grave. To understand the reality, think about your near and dear relative. This is just an exercise. This is just to help brothers and sisters. Is think about your near and real relatives. Maybe your father passed away, mother passed away, brother passed away, grandfather passed away, sister passed away. Think about them and think about them and say within your own heart that they never lived, never died. They exist as eternal. You have to keep saying that. Think about them, bring their form in front of you in your eyes and say they never lived, they never died, they are eternal. And when you keep saying that, slowly and slowly, you start looking at yourself as the eternal, not the body consciousness. You're trying to dismantle it every passing day. Okay, and then they have no beginning, no ending, and they're undivided. Undivided means connected to the universal consciousness, which is your individual consciousness connecting to the universal consciousness, which is the Nur of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Realize that the 7.5 billion people of world of today are individual souls connected to the universal consciousness. Though one may not realize it, it is an still respect a person who is not understanding these things, because it's an evolutionary process, brothers and sisters. It's an evolutionary process. So let everybody go through that. I'm not sitting here like a big guy and giving a big lecture. No. Maybe 8 years back I was a bigger donkey, but at different spiritual levels of evolution. Okay, share the information. That's all I'm trying to do, brothers and sisters. Whatever little bit I know, brothers and sisters, if there is any mistakes, forgive me for that. But the point is that share the information, so let other people benefit out of it, inshallah. Please make dua for me, brothers and sisters. If I've hurt somebody's feelings, it is my own ignorance, brothers and sisters, but there's no intention like that. Okay, I've been sitting here for hours, and inshallah, let me complete it. The Kutub said that some of them will need to go through multiple births. In Islam, today's Islam, they don't talk about multiple births and all that. Oh, there's a day of Qiyamah, and after that, great. Everybody's going to Jannah, No, multiple births are there, brothers and sisters, and this is the ilm of Kutubiyat, You need to go deeper for that. And to get into illallahu, maybe this life is not good enough. You need to go to multiple births to realize this particular truth that is being given here, right? So the Kutub was asked about rebirth. It's a Hindu concept, but what he was asked, he exclaimed, "Don't you see the worms on this earth? In this earth, their existence? These were also souls. Maybe they were degraded because they misused their human life by causing harm and suffering for other fellow human beings, and Allah degraded them as worms. They are not going to see the Nur of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because to see the Nur you have to be in the human form." And that becomes the hell of their existence. So when somebody asked about rebirth to the Qutub Muhyiddin Hazrat, he said, "Don't you see the worms in the earth? Don't you see the wisdom here?" That's what he asked. Okay, brothers and sisters, we keep going. The body was absent before birth and will be absent after death. That is when the soul entered the body, when the birth happened. When the soul disconnects, the body dies. But the soul will always exist infinitely. But in what state is destined by the realization one reaches to during the period when the body is connected. The soul is connected to the body. That is when I'm alive right now. So before I die, brothers and sisters, this is the important message, that we need to go on this journey, go within our own self, touch the infinity within ourselves, touch the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and then go proceed further into true ibadat. وَمَا خَلَقْنَا الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. The prayers done at that point is the true prayer, brothers and sisters. This is what the Kutub said. So this earth is a university, brothers and sisters, according to the Kutub, and we have come to educate our soul, to continue our evolution of the soul from the form to the formless. Learn from contrast. We will only understand, appreciate sunlight when we see darkness. We'll appreciate sweetness when we taste sour. We will appreciate, cold water when we are in the middle of the desert in the heat. So we are always learn from contrast. That is, this world is a world of contrast, brothers and sisters. We end up making the grave mistake of looking ourselves with body consciousness only and limit ourselves to our ego and materialistic pursuits and drama of this world, with its desires and attractions and experiences, whereas every moment should be spent to reach the higher level of consciousness, to connect to the Nurun ala Nur, the Nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mingling with the Nur of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Conclusion, brothers and sisters, birth of the body and death of the body is just an experience. We have not been created during the birth experience, nor we will be destroyed by during the death experience. We only move from different unseen realms. The real self or the Ruh has to exist to experience this birth of the physical body and death experience of the physical body. But we are not the body, inshallah. Okay. Quickly, how to connect to the Nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It's just some small pointers. I think we covered a lot of it, but just going to make it as a separate section so that we can focus on it. For the self, this is just a saying again. For the self is everything. Realization of the true nature of the self is everything. That is what it means. When the seeker knows this, he falls silent, brothers and sisters. I've seen people on the path, when they start this path, they're very talkative and this and that. But the moment they proceed further and further, then, they become very silent. MashaAllah. Brothers and sisters, you're getting close to Nabil Ummi. MashaAllah. Reality of the Nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. With the reality that I is connected, the soul is this is the uppercase I, brothers and sisters, which is the awareness, with the awareness. And we're going to say what this awareness. This is awareness without body consciousness. It's connected to the Nur, the ocean of oneness, strongly founded, engraved within ourselves. When we revisit with this awareness of the of I connected to the Nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we revisit the Shahada Kalima, and the soul or the Ruh witnesses the beginningless building, the reality of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Mustafa Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Then the Iman becomes complete. The ego melts away, brothers and sisters. Duality disappears. Oneness remains. Ahad remains, brothers and sisters. The moment is witnessing the Kalima within his own self, the eternal bliss and happiness. This should be the state that Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat talked about. The ego-centered 72 sects, brothers and sisters. Conflicts. I'm going to Jannah. He's right. He's wrong. I am right. I'm going to Jannah. This, that. Always fighting battles, conflicts within their own selves and with outside also. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam warned us about that. They will debate about Hazar and Nazar. Hazar and Nazar means Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the formless state, can appear anywhere. The entire 18,000 universe has been created. When you go into deep levels of meditation, you reach a point, brothers and sisters, where you can see the Nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam empowering the 18,000 universes. What are we talking about? Maula Ali said the entire 18,000 universes can be condensed into the nukat below Ba. That's how insignificant the 18,000 universes. And there are clowns, mentally retarded people in this ummah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Out of the 72 sects, they don't deny Hazar and Nazar state of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because they have not even touched their own soul. They are in body consciousness, brothers and sisters. And then they deny something which is a reality. And they are expecting the shifaat of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam on the day of judgment. They deny ilmul ghaib. They say Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was, just a bashar, just a human being, inauzubillah, just a human being. And they talk about shadow, whether Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has shadow when he, just in the sunlight, or when he went inside the room, did he have shadow? That's what they're talking about. Idiots don't have the time to look within their own selves, to discover on their own man arfa nafsu faqad arfa rabbahu, and then trying to understand the Nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. For these people, the Shahada is just a statement, brothers and sisters. It's an incomplete statement without experiencing reality. I don't want to spend much time here. This is negativity. One has to touch the eternal aspect of one's own existence to understand the larger reality. In Allah ala kulli shayin muhit, Allah Ta'ala is in every particle. His kudrat is there in every particle. Most of us use our intellectual ability to assimilate information, quickly conclude and judge. Instead of that, use the immense power to explore, brothers and sisters. Explore the I, the uppercase I, which is awareness. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, which is Allah sends down in human form His Noor, who is Inna Arsalnaka illa Rahmatul lil Alameen. Allah did not say Inna arsalnaka illa rahmatul lil alam. He said alameen. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came for multiple universes, brothers and sisters. There is a body which is buried under the green dome, the blessed, beloved green dome in Medina Munawwara. But that body is not just the real state of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is the state, that is the Rasul, the Prophet who came in the human form. It's the blessed place because that's where the blessed body of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is, brothers and sisters. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. The formless state of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is inna arsalnaka illa rahmatul lil alameen. He is alami, he is as a rahmat for the 18,000 universes. So how can I, with my little intelligence, with my monkey mind, say, oh, there is only one Rasul and he is Bashar and he is just a human being? Nauzubillah. Only mentally retarded people, or who have no intelligence at all, we can say those statements. And that is because the iman is not complete. When you belittle the Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you are belittling Allah, brothers and sisters. We need to be very careful with that. We become a murtad in no time. If I don't understand something, keep your mouth shut and try to explore. Don't make statements because you want to get some followers who can thrash other people. We are not in the business of thrashing. We are in the business of trying to find out the reality. Okay, and what is business? I'm not doing tijara with anybody. That the time is what I have with me right now before I die, brothers and sisters. And I have a lot of journey to cover myself. This awareness of the truth is obscured by the self-limiting ideas of ego-driven mind, body consciousness of I, me and myself. For the frog in the well thinks the well is the ocean. We don't want to become that frog in the well, brothers and sisters. If these ideas are abandoned, then the reality of the kalima will shine automatically by default. When the sun rises, brothers and sisters, darkness disappears. The egocentric I needs to be challenged. I am angry, I am hurt, I am rich, I am successful. The little I, the lowercase I. This is an error. Since we never challenge this I, the I stays on. It never dies. And that becomes the burden on the day of judgment, because the Name Amal will be given, the book of deeds will be given to me, and I'll be questioned because of this little I. I never forced it to ask the real existence of that I, and it stayed till the last moment of my breath on this earth. A vigilant challenge of the I, questioning the source of the I, causes the sense of the person, the body consciousness, to disintegrate. It happens, brothers and sisters. You try it in your meditation. Man arafa nafsu faqad arafa rabbahu. The Quran and the Hadith, this aids us to understand this journey. Finally, brothers and sisters, let's go again quickly to understand what is this I comprised about. Remove the adjunct awareness from the true self, brothers and sisters. The reality will connect to automatically. The reality will automatically come. Pure consciousness will come, which is the Noor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and free us from misery and suffering of life due to me looking at myself with incorrect reality. This is an example, a beautiful example, which just will open up your mind again. We're going through this concept over and over again from different viewpoints, so that you get a complete picture, brothers and sisters. Okay, I'm not repeating information. Water plus tea leaves is tea. Water plus lemon is lemonade. Water plus dirt is murky water. Water plus salt is salt water. Water plus wine is alcohol. Water is the essence of all this being. And is the real essence. Everything else is an adjunct. Similarly, we have to go into the self-inquiry, and we dismantle all the different adjuncts that we have created for our own self. These are images we have created for our own selves. And when you dismantle that in your meditation, what will remain is the essence of your being. Oh, I am a successful engineer. I make so much of money. I'm a successful doctor. I make so much money. Then you ask the question, oh, then who is this engineer? Who is the doctor? Or did you become this on your own? Or can you control this breath that is going in and out? Go. Who's this I? Who's this I? Finally, that ego will become so diminished, it'll disappear. At that point, when you keep going, dig it deeper and deeper and deeper. When you have to dig a well, you don't dig 50 holes of 50 feet each. You'll dig one big hole of 100 feet or 200 feet, and you'll hit water. Similarly, you have to keep on digging on that particular place. Automatically, one day the fountain will burst open, brothers and sisters. It does happen. Okay, it's tried techniques. Okay, what will remain is the essence of our being will remain. Silence, Nabilum, the reality. This is the very powerful experience when the ego melts. It is like, and this is an example given, and this is, I've experienced it myself. It's like a 6-foot statue of oneself made of salt. Okay, 6-foot statue of oneself made of salt. Using that, you're trying to measure the depth of Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean, at some places, it is 8 miles deep. Can you imagine you make a 6-foot statue of yourself and you say, okay, I'm going to use this as the scale to measure the Pacific Ocean. Within the few feet that you go inside the ocean, the statue of salt will be dissolved in the ocean. How long it will take for you to for the ocean to reclaim the 6-foot form? Ilmul Bahar, this is the Ilmul Bahar, the ilm of divine ilm. It is so deep. We are standing at the shore of it. And Allah says that, He says, if you make the entire oceans into ink and all the wood on the trees into pen, and you start writing about the ilm of azmat of Allah, you'll exhaust the ocean and you'll exhaust the pens, but you'll not finish writing. That is the depth, brothers and sisters. As long as the ego exists, brothers, body consciousness, me and Allah and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Noor and Allah Noor exist as second and third objects. They are not within me. As long as the ego exists, the I being the subject, and hence separation and not ahad. When the I disappears, touches the infinity within my own self, first the world will disappear. Then the concept of Allah, cooked up by the mind as another object, trying to figure out the arsh of Allah as if a physical concept, shirk, will disappear. And what will remain is the reality of the kalima. In that state, brothers and sisters, ashadu is the only reality. That is the witnessing of the kalima. Surrender is the natural state, Iman, Islam, and Ihsan, which is Ahad, which is the oneness, not separate, but Noor from the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. If Ahad meant Allah is one, then there would be a second and a third and a fourth and a fifth also exist. Hence, we are stuck in the mind. Please understand, brothers and sisters, the mind always works with objects. Okay, you go inside, the mind will get dismantled. It deals with objects and separation, because the mind needs to look at each thing as an object separately to understand it. It can only understand form, okay, and store it in memory to recall it whenever it is needed. To figure out the concept of Allah, the Arsh and the Kursi, the Sidratul Muntaha, without seeing the light of soul within oneself, is only a projection of the mind. And hence we try to imagine Allah. Maximum what you can do with your monkey mind is imagine Allah as all powerful, all knowing. You use some of the attributes to figure out Allah, but you will never get into the Zat of Allah or the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with the mind, brothers and sisters. This is beautiful. Again, in every presentation, we talk about this thing. It's the first one, says Alif Lam Mim. This is the crux of Alif is Allah, Lam is the wisdom which came from Mawla Ali, and Mim starting for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Here is the secret, a mystery, which is when you combine Alif and Lam, you get a lock. You need the Mim. The Mim looks like a key, like a door handle. You need the Mim. The moment you connect the Mim to Alif and Lam, it separates and it gets unlocked. All the 3 letters stand separate. Alif stands separate, Lam stands separate, Mim stands separate. Which means, brothers and sisters, it is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he came in the human form, the Noor of Allah, and he gave all the divine wisdom and the knowledge, there were no more secrets remaining between the heavens and the earth. To reach the highest spiritual state. Brothers and sisters, we are lucky to be born in the ummah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We are lucky to have the kutubs who come in this ummah. Gausul Azam Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, Ya Sayyid Muhyiddin Amrullah Nurai, Ya Sheikh Muhyiddin Fadlullah Yatfai, Ya Awliya Muhyiddin Amanullah Shartai, Ya Baba Muhyiddin Nurullah Kamran, Ya Gaut Muhyiddin Kutubullah Yasmail, Ya Sultan Muhyiddin Saifullah Ajmal, Ya Khwaja Muhyiddin Farmanullah Dartai, Ya Maghdum Muhyiddin Furqanullah Royal, Ya Badshah Muhyiddin Arshullah Matrail, Ya Darush Muhyiddin Hayatullah Katrai, Ya Fakir Muhyiddin Mujahidatullah Nubai. These are the kutubs names I took, their adjectives and the names. This is the last one is Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat. They decipher, they give this ilm out, brothers and sisters. Okay, this particular presentation is made with the mercy of the Kutub, Baba Muhyiddin Hazrat. and Ghaus al-Azam Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu anhu, the ilm that they have bestowed. And so after this message was delivered, there's no secret remaining in the heaven and the earth. And we can, through our meditation, through the knowledge which has been deciphered, which has been given to us, we can get to the highest level of spiritual quest that we need to. And when we understand, brothers and sisters, that the haqq is within me, the soul can merge with the nur and another nur. That blessed day is the day of Qiyamah for the Salik. Life changes in the inner treasure. I was a hidden treasure and I wanted to be known. That inner treasure opens up for a few. Ilme kutubiyat frees oneself from the mundane miseries of this world, brothers and sisters. The nur consciousness is alone. This is in meditative state that one sees alone exists, not just as an individual experience, but as an underlying substratum in which all objects, universes, galaxies, stars, planets, living beings appear and disappear as just as a phenomena, a material phenomena, life and death, the physical life and death. We will experience this in meditation, brothers and sisters. This is not empty words. This is not stories here. Mala Ali said, I am the nukat below the letter Ba of Bismillahir Rahmanir. Ba is one of the letters, brothers and sisters. When you remove the nukat, there is no meaning to that. But if you look at any other letter with a dal, you put a nukat on top, it becomes zal. Ra, you put a top, it becomes za. Ain, you put a letter, a dot, it becomes ghain. Swad, dwad. But ba is one letter. You remove the nukat, it becomes, you can't sound. It has no sound. So the nukat is very important. And ba actually means something through which the existence came. The real hidden meaning of ba is something from which existence came. And Maula Ali said, I am the nukat below the ba. He reached the point where he is one with the nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You can go and revisit Man Kuntum Maula, where the infant Maula Ali did not, suck his milk of his mother, waited for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to come and mingle, put his tongue in his mouth, and he sucked the saliva of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as the first bit, because that's more important to Maula Ali. He didn't open up his eyes. Hazrat Abu Talib radiallahu anhu was sad. He thought the child is blind. He opened up his eyes when Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came back after a business trip. He came back, and when he saw Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was carrying him, he opened his eyes. So brothers and sisters, when he merged with the nur, he's already merged one with the nur, but in the human form, when he said, I am the nukat below the ba, brothers and sisters. The only reason why we were given a form for you and me is to recognize the temporary existence as the name on the form and try to touch the reality within our own self. That is the journey, brothers. The form associated with us in the dunya is in for a very small duration, brothers and sisters. Barzakh, we don't know the duration for that. It could be billions and billions of years we are in the grave till we are resurrected. The hadith, time in the dunya, is in one of the hadith, it says time between azan and ikama. One of the other one says between the asr and maghrib prayer. One day on the day of Qiyamah, brothers and sisters, is 50,000 earthly days. One day of Qiyamah. And if you have a 70 years of life, you multiply 365 multiply by 70, you get 25,550 days, brothers and sisters. That is just half a day of Yawmul Qiyamah. And then we are stuck to the form. Can you imagine? This is a beautiful image I want to put. Again, this is nowhere close to the reality, but something which will help aid the nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the creation of the five elemental energy. On one side is the nur, it goes through a prism and then it separates into the five elemental energies. The entire 18,000 universes are created from these five elemental energies. Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, nebulas, galaxies, Earths, everything is created from the nur. So nur is one, it goes through the prism of creation and it becomes the created world. Okay, every element, even in the science world, in the material sciences, every element, zinc, magnesium, when you put under a spectrum microscope, it will have its own separate spectrum. Think about it, brothers. So this is all energy transformation. Okay. So matter is nothing but energy transformation. Einstein proved that E equal to mc square. So we are stuck with the body consciousness. Beyond that is energy. We can't even get into the energy. Today's science is backward. We are doing we are doing matter manipulation. We are not even doing energy manipulation. Pure awareness, brothers and sisters, is awareness without object of awareness. Very, very important. The Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is not an object that the mind can generate, and it is a witness. Observation without judgment and conclusion. When all the other object or adjunct awareness has been let go, what remains is the Noor. If one explains the experience of seeing the Noor, then he has not seen the Noor. Because one cannot put those particular feeling on a slide or on a book. That is something that you treasure. That is what your treasure is, that you invested your time in the spiritual journey, brothers and sisters. Journey back into La ilaha illallah. The first stage of La ilaha illallah, basic definition, the Sharia definition. There is no God but God. It's a joke, but still, that's the definition. Second stage is there is no divinity but divinity. The third stage is same thing, La ilaha illallah. There is no reality but real. What is real? This is going closer to the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Final stage is there is nothing but Allah. That is a point of surrender, because everything came from the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You get to that point. You see that in meditation. You see 18,000 universes can be combined together in the Nukat below the Ba. And the Noor is infinite. The best example I can give you is, think about the Noor as the ocean. Think about the Noor as the ocean filled with water, and the existence of the universe is coming as bubbles in the water, and then the bubbles bursting and becoming water again. That's the closest you can think of from a mind point of view. So the Noor is the substratum, and universes just come as bubble. It'll exist for a few seconds, boom, it'll burst, go. That's it. So what is existing is the Noor. Okay, brothers and sisters, I hope it's clear. So when the experience of the Noor happens, the seeker dissolves himself, the personality gets dissolved, and the experiencer does not remain. The egoistic I is not there anymore. It's what remains is the pure awareness without the body consciousness, and the complete absorption happens. And in that state is where Mansur al-Hallaj said, Anal Haq, Anal Haq, and he was, persecuted and killed for that. And Firon, in his egoistic state with the small I, he said, Ana Rabbukum al-Ala, and he was, thrown in hell. Brothers and sisters. So look at the two statements. Anal Haq, he's saying, I am Haq. Firon said, Ana Rabbukum al-Ala, but huge difference. Both from a meaning perspective are nearly the same. Ana Rabbukum al-Ala, Anal Haq, but huge difference. One has complete absorption. Mansur al-Hallaj, he's a wali of Allah. He got completely, fana in the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. All he saw is Haq everywhere. That's it. Firon, in his ego consciousness, his body consciousness, looking at his kingdom, his slave woman and his power and his horses and his soldiers, he said, I am the great Rabb. Body consciousness, brothers and sisters. Okay. Finally, self-inquiry, brothers. This is a beautiful poem. The sorrow of duty, like the heat of the sun, have scorched my heart, your heart, but let the stillness fall on you with its sweet and cooling showers, and you will find happiness, inshallah. Brothers and sisters. Practice self-inquiry, merging into illalahu. We will redefine shirk here. It's a joke for me, People who don't even know what shirk talk about shirk. Keep turning daily basis for a few minutes to connect your real self within. Turn attention back. Try to stay there. The more one stops thinking oneself as a body consciousness, the more time one spends in who am I state. Look at that. I is the uppercase I, the awareness. Investigation. So long as one identifies one as a body, one is aware of the object oriented mind, where the world, very important, the world, Allah and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam appear as separate objects, entities. This is the state of shirk, brothers and sisters, because we are associating partners. The Noor within my own self connecting to the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, merging into illallahu. That is the reality. And we'll redefine shirk in a beautiful way now. The moment the I merges with the universal consciousness, the duality disappears. And what remains is pure happiness, peace, bliss. It is like the rainwater which merged back into the ocean. Complete calmness, brothers and sisters. The individuality, the burden that we've been carrying all along has disappeared. This is the burden we are carrying with the ego. He said that to me, I said that to me. I have so much money, he has more money, he's more successful, I'm less successful, I am jealous about him. All those things, body consciousness, brothers and sisters. Simple thing to discard. Discard this thing. Don't have to carry this along. Shirk disappears. Associating partners with reality. So when I associate the pure awareness, which is the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the uppercase I, with my lowercase body consciousness, ego, the lowercase I, that is shirk, brothers. Because you are associating something which is so divine with something which is so lowly. Shirk. Associating partners with reality. And the reality is the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. By turning attention to inner self, we see the only being that really exists. Nothing other exists. Illallahu, only Allah exists. Initially, awareness is covered with Maya, which is that the body is the permanent. Maya is nothing but ego. We are always looking away from the true identity, which is, instead of going inward, we are looking outward. We are looking for Allah in the Kaaba or beyond the seventh heaven, trying to figure him out. For self-inquiry to succeed, one has to have highest level of self-love. We talked about this thing in the previous slides few hours before. Self-love will only come into being, brothers and sisters, when one realizes the true nature of one's own being. Not the body consciousness with my tummy and my hairstyle and my skin color and all that. No. How beautiful I am, how big nose I have and beautiful nose. No. The nature of one's own being, and goes into self-inquiry and self-surrender within oneself. True Aqidah is most important, brothers and sisters. Foundation of faith is more important. Allah and His Habib Nurun ala Nur exist within me. Self-love automatically happens. When you start touching the divinity within your own self, you cannot but start loving your own self. Because you have rediscovered another dimension within your own self, which is the love Allah has for His Nur. And you'll start loving your own self, because we're saying this thing very beautifully here, that one falls in sujood, thanking Allah for giving a human birth, which is the only species who can experience the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam within oneself, because Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came in human form. We know that even the pebbles in the hand of Abu Jahl, we talked about this in Miraj presentation, recited the Shahada Kalima, and they are aware of who Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is. But to experience the Noor within our own self and experience prayer as Miraj, only human beings have the honor. Because the Noor of Allah came in the human form, Ashraful Makhluqat, not as angels or jinn. That is the reason the angels jinn were commanded by Allah to bow in front of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. Ishq Nabi Ahlul Bayt is prerequisite for this journey, brothers and sisters. I hope you agree with me 100% there. Man is my secret, I am man's secret. Allah says, He is within me and I am within him. The whole universe cannot contain me, Allah says, but the heart of the believer does. Hadse Qudsi, He says, I was a hidden treasure. I loved, I need to be known, so I created the world. So the reality of love for His Noor can be experienced by every human soul by annihilation of his body consciousness, brothers and sisters. Sultan Bahu, one of the kutubs of Allah, and a huge, treasure of fakr, the ilm of fakr. He said the tasawwur of Allah's name, the name Allah, right, and the divinity of the human soul, the exercise of the tasawwur of Allah, when you go into deep meditation and do the zikr of illallahu, 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 Allahu, 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 Allah, the breath of Allah going out and who coming in, Allahu, 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 Allahu. Some of the mashayikh also turn it around, Allah in, who out, Allahu, Allahu. These are different, exercises. The exercise of tasawwur of Isme Zat purifies the nafs, sanctifies the heart, enlightens the soul, and inward journey of the person belongs. Whoever acquires these blessings, his body is dominated by his heart, heart is dominated by his soul, and the soul is dominated by the divine secret. When all of these become one, which is the mind turns inward, the heart and the soul combines. When all this become one, being converted into the Noor of Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, all the evil characteristics are removed from his body, and his inward senses become overcome the outward senses. Brothers and sisters, ayat of the Quran here. فَإِذَا سَوَّيْتُهُ وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي فَقَالُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. And I have proportioned him, this is the body, and then breathed my soul into him. And then he commanded for everybody to fall prostrate. Now this one is, this is, we'll talk about it in a little bit detail, is, and we'll go to the next ayat also, inshallah. فَسَجَّدُوا مَلَائِكَةُ كُلُّهُمْ أَجْمَعُونَ. So when Allah commanded that I have, fashioned this body of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, breathed my soul into him, and then he asked the angels to bow. The angels prostrated, all of them in entirety. Brothers and sisters, to this soul is what the divine secret of the Noor of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was given. And because Allah breathed his soul when he says that it is the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that is why Adam alayhi salatu wasalam's darja became so high. Otherwise, he would be just like an animal, like a snake or a goat or a chimpanzee or a monkey or orangutan or something. Brothers and sisters. So when he said, Allah says, then I breathe my soul, this is the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam coming in the human form, brothers and sisters. Allah permitted the Noor to come in the human form. This is the greatest blessing that we got, brothers and sisters. And not, Auzubillah, that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was just a human being. I hope you understand that. I know I don't have to keep repeating it, inshallah. The spiritual pinnacle of the Ummah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Ana fakru wal fakri minni. Fakr, Sultanul Fakr came into existence after the manifestation of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Ana fakru minni. Hazrat Adam alayhi salatu wasalam was between earth and water. The form of Hazrat Adam alayhi salatu wasalam was between earth and water when Fakr came into being. That is when Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's manifestation happened, and the Noor came from the heart of the Allah. Baba Kutub says that the Noor, the Kumbham, when Allah, the intention happened that I needed to be known, the Noor came out of the heart of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and asked the question, who am I? And that is when the wisdom of Kutubiyat said, and the entire, the Loh Mahfuz, the pen started writing the Ilmul Bahr and the entire story of the creation. And when the pen had finished writing it, Allah Ta'ala looked at the pen and said, the kalam, and said, Anta Muhyiddin. You are the Muhyiddin, somebody who will keep the deen hayat. This is the kutubs, brothers and sisters. This is the wisdom that is being given here, brothers and sisters. When the Noor came out, I talked about this in Ziyarat-e-Noor Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. When the Noor came out of the heart of Allah, it split into 10 parts. The 9 of them where the different elements of that is explained very detailed in Ziyarat-e-Noor Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Is Annati Muhammad, Ati Muhammad, Ana Muhammad, Awal Muhammad, Allah Muhammad, Muhammad, Ahmad, Anna Muhammad, and Hayat Muhammad. And these are the 9, and there are functions for each of them. It's explained in detail. And finally, the 10th one is the Noor, which was the color, and that is the witness. And the witness is Maula Ali. Alif Lam Mim. Alif is Allah. Lam is the Ana Madinatul Ilm wa Ali Babua, which represent Maula Ali. And Mim is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Brothers and sisters. This is again the Fakri, the Fakiri of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. How Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, our beloved Nabi, he lived his life. When entire Islam mission was accomplished, Hazrat Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu one day went to the house of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he cried because he saw Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was lying down on a raw mat, and the impressions of the mat were on his back. There were few barley seeds lying on one of the corner of his house so he can cook some food. This is when Islam has penetrated large parts of Arabia. Here is the king. He could have lived a life of a king. The king of the Rome and Persia were having huge palaces with food and liquor and women, and how Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is sleeping on a mat. And the impressions of the mat the palm trees, the mat which is sewn from palm trees was on his back. This is the fakiri my Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came with, brothers and sisters. Our ummah is indebted to the wealth of Ummah Khadijatul Kubra. Recite Surah Yasin for Ummah Khadijatul Kubra, Ummah Amina, Ummah Fatima Zahra every day if you can, brothers and sisters. Because if it was not for her sacrifices, we would not be praying, Zohar, Asar, Isha, Maghrib, Fajr, and all that. In the blessed ummah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, saints and fakirs will appear, whose status on the day of judgment will amaze the prophets and the messengers of other ummahs. These pious people will be the inheritance of fakir, which is the fakiri from the fakirs of the ummah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The fakirs do not want anything from Allah except Himself. The wahadat, the oneness from Allah. The Jannat and Jahannam are not destinations they are trying to get to or trying to avoid getting into. Brothers and sisters, Sultan Bahu, who is called a Sultan Fakr, he's one of the who mastered the fakiri, and he's also talks about Arif Billah, somebody who Arifin, who knows his carnal desires, his self is afflicted, his heart is awake, his spirit is inclined to see his Lord, Didar of his Lord. Sultan Bahu mentions that a person who has realized Allah, if he says Ya Allah even once with complete realization, and ishq is sufficient for him for the day of judgment, for the one who knows, for Arifin. So it's not the question of how many times you say Allah. It is even saying one time, but complete realization is sufficient. So brothers, we're talking about quality here, not quantity here. Recite 1,000 times. No, you have to do that so to conquer your nafs. But we do it with realization. Okay, it is the what is being shared here is we are going into ashadu. Who is doing the witness, brothers and sisters? Sultan Bahu considered himself the dust under the feet of Maula Hassan and Hussein. He was one of the greatest sheikhs who talked about Sultan al-Fakr. And he says in one of his books that I feel myself the dust under the feet of Maula Hassan and Hussein. We are great guys here. We pass fatwas, shirk, bidda, this, Jahannam, Jannat, I'm going to Jannat. And Sultan Bahu says he feels that he's the, dust under the feet of Maula Hassan Hussein. Brothers, three categories of people, brothers, exist. Some who are going to Jannah, who are going to hell. Third is merging into illalahu. Reaching heaven is too insignificant goal for them, brothers and sisters. The level of baka, fana wal baka, fana is to annihilation, baka is what remains after annihilation. The level of baka, what remains after annihilation, one will attain in this state depends upon how much of level of fana, how much have you given up, one can attain in this life, brothers and sisters. How much of body consciousness, how much of this ego oriented life that we have, how much of we have given of that, and how much of time we spend in the contemplation, in the zikr and ibadat and meditation and doing good to the human mankind. It all depends. The amount of fana that we achieve is proportional is the amount of baka what will remain, what Allah will bestow on us for a life, beautiful life that we spend on this earth, brothers and sisters. Finally, brothers, sisters, listen to your heart and not to your ego. Your ego prompts you to boast of vain assertions to obtain the glory of this world. Turn away from the vanity and seek Him in the recesses of your heart and soul. Seek Him in the recesses of your tears of your eyes. Hazrat Abdul Qadir Jilani, Gausul Azam Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani is saying, the power of the will to go within. This is the beautiful power Allah has bestowed us. Attention, brothers, focus, brothers and sisters. We have to focus, use that to focus on our true self. The entire world is a distraction going outbound, the outside dream. By turning our attention back into our own self, we can bring this maya and illusion that we are trapped into an end, rather than wait for Israel Islam to come and take our soul, which would be an abrupt ending and of our body consciousness, but may not be the ending we are looking for or we are expecting. And this is a beautiful, one of the enlightened soul. He said that. He said the ordainer controls the fate of the souls in accordance to what is written in the preserved tablet, which is Lohe Mahfuz. Whatever is destined not to happen will not happen. Try as much as you can. Whatever is destined to happen will happen. Do what may to prevent it. This is certain. And the enlightened soul said that this is the best course and is therefore to remain silent. Finally, brothers and sisters, the last slide is, as I said, promised. This is the Kutub singing beautiful about the love he has for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Ummah Amina, witnessing the Noor himself, mashallah.
எங்களின் நபியே இரசூல் நபியே முஹம்மது நபியே முஸ்தபா நபியே முமீன்கள் யாவர்க்கும் துளங்கு நபியே தூயனல் நபியே துலங்கு நபியே ஆமினா பெற்ற அண்ணல் முஹம்மது
A resplendent Nabi born to Amina, Annal Muhammad Mustafa Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
ஸல்லல்லாஹு அலைஹி வஸல்லம் நன்மையான முஹம்மதி ரசூல் நபிக்கு எங்கள் நாதர் முஹம்மதி ரசூல் நபிக்கு கல்பு நாடினேன் கல்பு வாடினேன்
My heart, qalb seeks him earnestly. My qalb pines for our Lord Muhammad Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Protect us and bestow your grace. O Annal Muhammad, grant us the means to reform ourselves and protect us. O Annal Muhammad, Ya Rasul. O our worthy, exalted Lord, guide us, the unfortunate ones, to have determination. May you protect us and bestow your grace. O the gem Muhammad, may you come, O Father, O King, O King Mahmud, may you forgive our faults with your grace.
அல்லாவின் தூதரே நிறைவேத்தி கலிமா முறையோதி
O Allah's Rasul, you fulfilled words of justice and taught the ways of the Kalima.
நபி முஹம்மதி ரசூல் உரைத்த தங்கமாகிய களிமா எங்கும் பொங்கச் செய்யும்
Nabi Muhammad Rasul, praised by all in the world, explained the golden Kalima. O Muhammad Rasul, who makes this Kalima flourish everywhere. Annal Muhammad Rasul, born to Amina, bears the exalted name of divine Annal Muhammad. He resplends as Muhammad Rasul. King Mahmud, who fills the qalb and all the body. Annal Muhammad, who prays for blessings for the body, world, heaven and akhir. May you come.
வானுலகம் துன்யா ஆகரமெங்கும் வல்லல்லி ரசூலே எங்களை வந்து
O beneficent noble Rasul, please come and make supplications for us in the heavens, in dunya and akhir, so that we will be in a firm state without faltering from justice. Be with us, O Rasul. Our pearl, Muhammad Rasul, father of Fatima, O pearl, O Dastagir, protect us from having faults. Help us to join the divine feet of Allah.
பதியில் வந்திருந்து
O come and dwell in the house made of 10 letters and govern us.
ஞான முத்தே திசையட்டும் ஆளும் மஹமூதரசே இமானிலையுள்ளும் புறமும் ஆளும் வல்லல் முஹம்மதி ரசூல்.
Divine gem, O pearl, King
எங்களின் நபியே இரசூல்